It was blocked. I blocked it.
Okay.
Blocked the video.
Oh my God, it's so hot down there. You would like it down there. Oh my God.
It's like 74 degrees down there.
Had to come back up and change. Put a short sleeve shirt on. Goodbye again. Have fun, Jeff, talking to yourself.
Seems like that's how it's gonna go.
Can you call the guest?
They all know I'm on. They all know it.
You got 5 minutes.
I sure do.
So I saw one on Amazon, but I'm going to build you one. I found a live on-air sign, like a lighted sign you can turn on. You're live on the air. So
it's funny.
You could put that behind you or something like that, you know, on camera if you wanted to.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you're talking about. That would be funny.
Well, the one thing I saw, the one piece of broadcasting furniture I saw, the border of the table actually lights up, and it lights up red for when you're on the air. So the entire table will light up red when you're on the air, and then when you're off or when you're in standby, it kind of like pulses a green or a yellow. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool.
Red would be somewhat ironic as well.
I can make you a Manchester United table. There you go.
That's true. And I would not. And that
with a little bit of Star Trek, you know, thrown in.
That would not break my heart in the least. I'll be honest about that.
The chair that you need when you're broadcasting, you need one of those gamers chairs, the high back gamers chairs with the lumbar support, the neck support, because that would be good for you when you're sitting there for hours, because that chair is not doing you any good.
It is not.
No.
But like most things, it was free.
Yeah.
So that is why we're using it. All right, we can't do that. Who else am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? I got 2 minutes. Am I forgetting? Oh. Let's get back to the group. Share to a page.
I hear somebody's coming in. I'm going to admit them. Jordi Comas.
Yep. Good. Yep. Done. Open.
Hello.
Jordi, you muted, sir.
Yep.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you go.
How's that?
How are you, my friend?
Good. How's the quality?
Fantastic. From your front porch. How are you not cold?
Yeah, I'm it looks like I'm outside. I'm inside.
Oh, even better.
You're looking, yeah.
Even better. You'll forgive me. I'm doing the Facebook bit. This is the bit of unavoidable pre-production.
Elijah is here.
But the
You must be
I don't know who that is.
Elijah.
I literally do. Oh, it's Carmina.
Carmina. I'm like going, as Elijah. Okay.
That was gonna be
That was going to be an interesting one.
That was gonna be interesting. I was like, oh my god, who's that? Who did I send it to that I don't remember I sent it to? Or who did I send it to by mistake? What are we at? 5 p.m. Oh, I gotta really hurry up here. I gotta shut the heck up and do this. Ooh, should we restore Northampton County? They won't let it in. A group of quote unquote friends. They love me. They won't let that in. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Thank God they made this easier. Man. What else? 101. Jefferson. I'm going to jump like straight in, gang, as soon as I'm done with this sharing bit. I'm stuffed up for some reason. Should have brought nasal spray in here, which I absolutely would have turned the camera off for. One that looks very attractive. Okay. 5:02. I got to push play. Here we go, kids. Carmina, feel free to unmute anytime and turn the camera on if you. Be great.
So I'm having signal issues, so that's why I don't have video. But if you call on me, I'll do it, and hopefully you guys can hear me.
Gotcha. Here we go. Welcome, 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 one and all, each and every single little individual one of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. This is the Kennedy Effect for December 2020 from my humble second bedroom in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in these United States, on planet Earth, the only one. We have third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy, in this universe of ours. This is the Kennedy Effect, the last live Kennedy Effect for 2020. We thank each and every single one of you for being part of the program yet again. Our last live program of 2020. It has been quite a wonderful, happy, and joyous year, has it not? Everyone? Rainbows, confetti, cakes, pies, happiness? No.
I mean,
Anything but we will get to that as I introduce my guests and say hello to you yet again and thank every single, each and individual one of you for being here. I'm thrilled to be back with you, humbled, proud, thankful yet again to be with every single one of you yet again for the Kennedy Effect live on the 20th of December. Again, our last live program of the year. So let's get through all the fun technical bits of our program. Wherever you are watching us, we thank you. We now share the program to, oh goodness, we're pretty steady about 70 plus places across the Facebook universe. So wherever you might be watching, we thank you for being there. You are welcome to stay exactly where you are. Watch, listen, enjoy the program. Awesome. We're thrilled that you are there. You can stay exactly where you are. Enjoy, sit back, listen, take a ride with us as we look back across the hellscape that was 2020. That said, if you would like to join us on the live chat and talk to us, communicate with us, interact with us, you can come to our home group Facebook page, which is That Other Side of Information. I know that many of you know that. We go through this every single week. It might sound redundant, it might sound boring, but we like to take you and guide you through the universe that is the Kennedy Effect. You can reach us in so many different ways. We want to make sure that you know how to reach us and interact with us. So you can come to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. You can talk to us. Well, not talk to us, but you can put comments, questions in the live chat, interact with us, tell us what you're thinking, ask questions, make comments, disagree, agree, argue, anything you want to do, but you can interact with the program live in real time. That Other Side of Information is our home group Facebook page. To our friends, family, brothers, sisters at hot101.net, thank you so much for allowing us into your world yet again this Sunday evening. It is proud, we're humbled, we're thankful to be part of your world yet again this Sunday evening on your devices, your smart speakers, in your cars, however it is that you take in hot101.net around the globe, literally around the globe. We thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your lives yet again on this Sunday evening here on the Eastern Seaboard of the United States and whatever time zone you happen to be in around the world. If you do not know how to listen or take in hot101.net and all of the outstanding programming that is part of hot101.net, which the Kennedy Effect is just a small part, you do it this way. You can go to the home website, the home page for hot101.net. And how do you find that? Well, it's pretty simple. You just go to hot101.net. You can also take in hot101.net through the various apps. If you have an Apple device, just go to the Apple App Store and you can look for hot101.net and download the app there. If you have an Android device, you go to the Google Play Store and you can download the hot101.net app there. If you have the TuneIn radio app, all you need to do is go to the search bar and search hot101.net and you can find us there. And we hope that you will do so. You can take advantage of all the outstanding programming on hot101.net 24/7. We're always there for you. And every week, every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 8, 9 p.m. you get to enjoy us. So we hope you'll do that. If you can't catch us live, if you happen to be catching the recording of me and my outstanding guests here on our program for the 20th of December, there's a myriad of different ways to do that. Wherever we share the program on Facebook, if you're familiar with how video works on Facebook, you will know that if you are seeing the program live, it also lives on that same page in a recorded fashion. You can catch it there. You can also go to our YouTube channel, which is also titled the same as our home Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. You can find us on Instagram at That Other Side of Information. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Just look for Jeff Kennedy. Another great way to interact with the program, we are actually on what a lot of people refer to as the cesspool, that is Twitter. You can live tweet us here on the program at That Kennedy Talk. You can also search for, Jordi was nice enough to tell his Twitter world that he's joining us tonight. We'll talk to Jordi very, very soon and introduce our guest, but we want to walk you through the world that is the Kennedy Effect first, like we always do. Jordi was nice enough to tell his followers that he's joining us. So you can live tweet us while we are on the program. You can live tweet us. Again, you can share your thoughts with us. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us about your 2020. Tell us about what you're looking forward to in 2021, because that is the theme of our program tonight. A relaxed roundtable discussion, looking back at the hellscape that was 2020 and looking forward into what we expect. A little prediction, a little, looking into the crystal ball to see what we expect to see in 2021. 1. So with all that said, and we'll be opening up the phone line, of course, later in the program. I know how you folks just love to burn down the phone line. George is with us from a remote location today. He's on a bit of a holiday, enjoying some time with the family, but he was still able to dial in and join us. We're thrilled that he's with us. Our associate producer, IT guru, and my dear friend, George, is still with us. You'll see him on the screen if you're watching through Facebook. He's monitoring and helping us out like he always is, and he is with us. And then let me get to our 2 guests. I invited a flurry of guests. 2 are here now. There's a chance that the others will be popping in and out throughout the course of the program. This is a very relaxed, a very low-key, very informal type of program this evening. Again, the theme of the program tonight is very, very simple, very non-structured, a very easy, quiet, not quiet because we're going to be talking the whole time making noise, but a very low-key, very non-structured, very relaxed sort of discussion. We just want to take a look back for our last live program of 2020 at the hellscape that was 2020 and a little look ahead into 2021. And we have 2 first-time guests with us. We love having first-time guests. Our 2 current guests, and again, we might have more folks jumping in and out throughout the course of the program. You know, whenever you have a 4-hour timeline, you have lots of folks who are jumping in and out. We have 2 first-time guests with us. He tried to say it's always great when the radio guy trips over his own tongue. We have 2 first-time guests with us, my friends, good friends, and that are getting better friends, which makes me even happier about that. Jordi Comas and Carmina Taylor. We have met and worked together in the strange world of politics here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And they're joining us for our very first time. And we'll give them a chance to say hello and tell us about themselves. Let's start in the old-fashioned way. This host and presenter can sometimes be a bit old-fashioned. Ladies first. Carmina, welcome to the program. Who is Carmina Taylor and how did you get here? Oh, Carmina ducked out. She's having that issue. I've been on several Zooms with Carmina where her mic gives out on her on occasion, and it apparently has given out.
Oh, I lost the signal. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen, Jeff. Can you hear me? I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. That's why I don't have the video on. First of all, thank you, Jeff, so much. Who is Carmina Taylor? So Carmina Taylor is a multicultural, multi-ethnic woman from the southeast region of Pennsylvania that has become saturated and obsessed with rural Pennsylvania and wanting to contribute to making sure the commonalities of economic issues between the urban, suburban, and rural communities of Pennsylvania get recognized, supported, and empowered. So I'm representing We Can't Wait Coalition, and it evolved out of a desire to connect all of the Black Lives Matter organizers across the state to address the issues that are happening locally so we can understand how we thread it statewide. So I'm here for that purpose. We have a lot of things going on for the new year, and I'll let Jordi introduce himself and then I'll engage in the dialogue because I definitely have a lot of reflection thoughts about this year, Pennsylvania in particular, and what we can do moving forward and what we should do moving forward. Is that okay, Jeff?
Absolutely. Don't worry. We have plenty of time. We got a 3-4-hour time block here on Hot 101.
I tried to make it fast, Jeff, because I'm sure I was going to go back out. So I'm going to mute myself and listen and chime in when I see my green light going on my microphone.
Well,
thank you.
You can
Go
tell,
ahead, Jeff.
You can tell Carmina understands rural Pennsylvania because she understands the issues of broadband and the challenges of broadband. Jordi, welcome to the program. Thank you very, very much for taking time out of your Sunday evening to be here. So who is Jordi and how did you get here, sir?
No, it's a pleasure to be here and thank you for inviting me. And it's nice to be on with Carmina. It's a nice surprise. She's one of those people who's always got lots of interesting ideas. And I think her her vision of how we need to connect rural and urban PA is right up my alley too. Who am I? This is a worn joke, but I like to say I'm a hat rack because I wear a lot of hats. But
It's new to me. I love it.
yeah, all right, it's new to you. So these days, I am a little on my borough council. So I don't know if you have people from outside of Pennsylvania, but boroughs are towns. So I'm the vice chair of the Lewisburg Borough Council. Lewisburg is in Union County, which is north of Harrisburg. Named for the Union, despite some of the Confederate flags I see sometimes. And part of that is I'm also a police commissioner, which has been an interesting role this year, and made me sort of think more deeply about what that means. I do a lot of organizing around progressive issues, and a good friend of mine likes to say that I'm a meta organizer. So I'm often very interested in capacity and what we can do as a progressive movement, and I don't have always sort of one issue that's closest to my heart. Although recently gerrymandering, the efforts by the Pennsylvania GOP to go backwards and reinstitute like basically an electoral college with their cockamamie scheme to do judicial districts. I don't know if we'll have time to get into that today, but that's an important issue to me, and kind of relates to, being like a meta organizer, because I am drawn to like, what are the structural pieces? What are the systemic pieces? Including in 2017-18, I was one of the 18 petitioners who sued the Commonwealth to overturn the 2011 congressional districts. So people may remember that case. So that was a pretty cool thing to be a part of. So in terms of hats, I do local governance, I do organizing, especially with something called the Hub for Progress, which people can find on Facebook and online.
Also, one of the groups that you are kind enough, along with the other facilitators in the group,
you
are kind enough that allows, this is one of the outlets, one of the Facebook groups that regularly shares the show announcements and shares the program. You're kind enough to allow that to happen.
Yeah, no, it's been a tremendous thing. And then the last thing is I do, and I'm looking this year to doing some more in the space of writing and, things like being on a podcast. I do have, I'm overly credentialed, I am a PhD in organizations and management. And I think I spent the last couple of years like stepping back from that a little bit because I didn't want to seem arrogant or condescending. But a couple of people have told me recently, they're like, why are you hiding your light? And so, I that is something that maybe I can bring to some of these conversations, whatever there is to bring in from the formal study of these things. So that's a little bit about me. I've been known to tell a bad joke or two, so that may make you like me more or less.
I've also I've received a note from an exceptionally important person to me that you are familiar with my neck of the woods here. You lived here in Bethlehem for a while.
I did. Yeah, I love Bethlehem. I was there. The Christmas City. Yeah, I was there when Bethlehem Steel still had a steel furnace going, a blast furnace in the mid '90s, and when it closed down its last blast furnace. And then I lived in Easton for a year. My wife taught at Lafayette College, and I'm the caboose spouse to her. She's the engine.
Have you been? When was the last time you were here?
Not too long ago. We still have very good friends. Let's see. Probably within the last 2 years. Yeah, we have good friends who live.
So you've seen you've been able to witness the truly quite remarkable transformation that has happened in the Lehigh Valley from the death of Bethlehem Steel to what is a proper rebirth of the city, and what I think. I can't say that everybody agrees with this opinion. It happens to be my opinion, and we all have them. What I think is good and managed, redevelopment, and what I do not think has to be a dirty word, but gentrification and rebirth and redevelopment. And what I think is good and managed, redevelopment. You've been able to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here.
And
when you live here, when you've visited.
Yeah. And I think Bethlehem, always had a couple of really good, some really good foundations to build on. I mean, the historical area. I actually worked at Moravian Academy, so I worked downtown in those spaces, which was beautiful. I ran a nonprofit program for kids called Summer Bridge, which is actually still around. but it worked with kids from like Southside, Bethlehem, from the side of Harrison Morton. I'm sorry, the side of Allentown where Harrison Morton is. Is that the east side or the west side? I think it's the east side, right up against Bethlehem. But yeah, I remember, I mean, that was when I was in my 20s, and I really taught me a lot about urban spaces. I know people may think that's weird, but you know, those three cities they're not as big obviously as Philly, but they're definitely urban spaces with the whole post-industrial arc. But you know,
Well, Allentown is the third largest municipality,
Right.
third largest city in the Commonwealth. It's not,
Mhm.
it
Right.
obviously, clearly, I mean, let's not be silly. It's not Philadelphia. It's not Pittsburgh. Let's be honest. But it's the
Right.
third largest municipality in the state. It's not a small
Right.
place either.
No,
And
no,
the Lehigh Valley is now rapidly, even in the, even in the post the Great Recession, even after Bethlehem Steel, saw its end. If you were to do a quick DuckDuckGo search on population trends in the Lehigh Valley, the line has consistently gone up, even from, from the beginning of the Reagan era, all the way through, even at some of the worst economic conditions we've seen in this country since the Great Depression. The population here has continued to grow. We're approaching 700,000 people in this valley. It's not, it's not a small place, is it?
No, I was going to say, and one of the things I always remember from Easton, which has this gorgeous European style center city with a roundabout, and in the middle is the park. When I lived there in '94, I think 3 out of the 4 corners were pawn shops or tattoo parlors, right? And I'm like, that is a really good metric for urban stress, right? Like how many of your central downtown corners are pawn shops and tattoo? And I don't mean to say anything bad about those folks, but pawn shops especially are not really generators of new economic growth. It's it's sort of selling it's liquidating your possessions. And so and I haven't been there very recently, but I was there when Benny and Smith started building the Crayola place, and
experience. Yep.
Yeah, and I love going there. I mean, who doesn't love Crayola crayons? Like, what a great fun thing. Yeah, so anyway, I think that those are all kind of little case studies. And the other piece, I don't know, how deep we want to go in the weeds, but my understanding, being an outsider to moving there, was like Lehigh Valley was not really a thing historically, right? That it was a bit of a regional identity that was built actually around the time that the steel and other industry was collapsing. And so I think over time it might be interesting, like, do people now feel more that they identify with that label at Lehigh Valley than they did then? When I first moved there, some people kind of scoffed. They're like, well, I'm from East and I'm not from the Lehigh Valley. But is that changed in the last 25 years?
That's my heavy sigh into the microphone is not always great radio. But I do think your question deserves genuine thought. I think that's an excellent question. I think, whenever you have that many people, you will never get uniformity of thought. I mean, you could probably get 10 people in a room and you wouldn't get uniformity of thought in the United States. I do think the economic trials and tribulations that the Valley has been through has codified the Valley, I think, to an extent. In my humble opinion, I do think that there would be folks that don't see it that way. I also think the large numbers of folks moving here from the 2 large metropolitan areas, from Northeast New Jersey and New York City proper, and from Philadelphia and the Philadelphia burbs proper, because it is not a necessarily oppressive commute to those 2 places from here, has created a rather larger identity of the Lehigh Valley. Where have you moved? Where are you moving to? I'm moving to the Lehigh Valley. Well, where? Well, Nazareth, but I'm in the valley. I'm in the Saucon Valley, but I'm in the valley. I'm in the Lehigh Valley. And even when you see the big the larger TV stations from Philadelphia, we tend to be the TV market from Philadelphia. You know, like even something as simple as the weather. You know, here's the Lehigh Valley forecast. Here's the headlines from the Lehigh Valley. Here's the traffic coming from the Lehigh Valley or returning to the Lehigh Valley. So I actually do think it's codified the Lehigh Valley to an extent, in my humble opinion. I think you can break it down then as to where you live within the Lehigh Valley. But when you say to someone who might be unfamiliar with the general territory, where do you live? I live in the Lehigh Valley. And it gives people a general frame of reference. It's the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area.
Mhm.
And it's the Lehigh County, Northampton counties, those two counties, you know, pretty much together. I've often made the point that I don't think there are any two counties inside the whole of the Commonwealth that are any more interconnected and that probably should not have a border than Lehigh and Northampton counties. They share a municipality. Bethlehem is split between the two.
Mhm.
You know,
Which
part of
is
Bethlehem is in Lehigh
weird.
County. It is
Yeah.
very odd. It is very odd. And part of Bethlehem is in Lehigh County. The
Yeah.
majority of it is in Northampton County. And yet this is a real insider thing where I won't get too deep into this for our global audience on Hot 101. And for, you know, folks outside the Commonwealth, we're getting a little deep into the weeds there, but Jordi and Carmina will know what I'm speaking of, that inside the PA Dems caucus, Lehigh County is actually in a different regional caucus than Northampton, which I think is desperately odd.
Yeah.
Because we're so completely intertwined. I frankly don't understand it myself. I think it was actually meant, I had been told a story that they were split out of the same regional caucus very much intentionally to try to lower them
De-escalate.
power
Yeah.
scale, de-escalate their power. But they really should be in the same regional caucus. But yeah, we're you know, I do think it's a case study, though. I do think you make an important point. I think it's a case study. We're not the only place by any means. I mean, Lancaster and you know, I'm sure you can probably name me a lot. Lewisburg, I think probably. You can probably name me a bunch of smaller places all across the Commonwealth that have rebirthed themselves or remade themselves after industry has left. But I do think I do think Bethlehem itself is a real leading case study in how a city has taken its strengths, which would be its history, which goes back to the 1600s, by the way, the first Moravian village in the United States, and you know, the eighth oldest institution of higher learning in the United States, you know, the entire Moravian settlement really, and you know, used its history and its beauty and its colonial architecture and to you know, to remake itself as the South Side is a major arts district now, and the center, you know, Main Street where the Hotel Bethlehem is and so on, is, you know, you've seen the city at Christmas. It's a big, you know, it's a big deal, and you know, the streets are just packed with people at Christmas, and it's a big deal, and it is a case study, and I think it's something that other communities can and should learn from, and there is life after industry. You know, we could probably do a series of programs for, you know, a month or more on how we got to this point and that there is no industry left. You know, we could talk about that for a very, very long time. And I do talk about it every single week on this program. George will tell you he's probably sick of hearing it. You know, we can break out the bingo card and talk about Reagan and the New Deal and deindustrialization and shipping everything, the destruction of the tariff system and sending everything over to China and all that good stuff. You mark it on your bingo cards, kids. We'll be unveiling the formal bingo card, by the way, after the new year. George and I will be taking 2 weeks off. This is our last live program of 2020. We'll be unveiling a formal bingo card January 10th of 2021, which you can play along with us now on the program. There are absolutely zero cash and prizes, but you are welcome to play along as a new way to interact with the program. But
you'll know you've made it if the bingo company sues you, because that's copyrighted. So if you get a cease and desist letter, then you can use that as a marker for you've made it.
Well, we're gonna. Well, that's true. But there are blank bingo templates all over the all over the internet.
I'm
So we're gonna
I'm
make
full
one.
of it actually. I'm
Yeah,
full
we're
of it. I
gonna
don't
make one. So let him come.
copied it.
You can't, you know,
I don't know if it's copyrighted. I just made that up to scare you.
when you have absolutely nothing, you can't take anything from it. You know, I tell George all the time I'm going to cut his pay, but you know, 0 from 0 is still 0.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
time I tell him I'm going to give him a raise, that I'm going to give him an exponential raise. I mean, 0 to the 4th power is pretty much still 0. So, you know, he enjoys getting a raise, but it doesn't mean much. So guests, Carmina and Jordi, when you think of, well, actually, let me do this. We're at 5:30 Eastern time. I should reset the program like a regular radio host is supposed to do. It's 5:30 Eastern time here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And this is the Kennedy Effect for 20 December 2020, our last live Kennedy Effect for the hellscape year that has been 2020. We are absolutely thrilled to have each and every single one of you with us. We're honored, we're humbled. We thank you so very much for being here. Literally every single one of you. I say this every program and I mean it very, very much. Wherever it is that you fall on the political spectrum, obviously I'm a very, very much a progressive person. I am a member of the Democratic Party and have been. I'm a member of the Kennedy family and have been since I came out of the womb. But wherever it is that you fall on the political spectrum, you are welcome here on this program. You are respected. We are glad that you are here. We want you to interact with this program. You can. This is not a lecture. We love NPR, but if you wanted to be lectured, you can go listen to NPR. But we want you to interact with the program. We will open up the phone line a little later in the program. For now, the live chat is open. I see Ashley. Ricky and Darlene are there now. You can send comments, questions, anything that you would like to interject into the program. We will read them. You can join us that way. You can also live tweet the program. Our handle is @ThatKennedyTalk, or you can just search That Other Side of Information and you will find us, and we will open up the phone line, as I said, a little bit later in the program after we give our guests a chance to share some thoughts. Wherever you are watching on Facebook, again, we're now sharing the program to about 70 different places across the Facebook universe using the tools of the enemy against them. We are using Facebook very, very much now. Please, you can stay right where you are. Listen in the background, watch, enjoy the program. We're just happy that you're with us. If you would like to join us in the live chat, please do so. You are welcome to do so, but we need you to come to our home Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. To our sisters and brothers, friends and family at hot101.net, thank you very, very much for allowing us to be part of your Sunday evening. If you do not know how to listen to hot101.net, it's really, really simple. You can go to the home website page at, you guessed it, hot101.net. You can go to any one of the apps, the Apple App Store if you have an Apple device, the Google Play Store if you have an Android device, or you can use the TuneIn radio app. Just look for hot101.net. You can email the program, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. That is the email address for all things The Kennedy Effect. If you have a business, a product, a service that you want to advertise on the program, that is the way to get a hold of us. If you have, it's yet another way to reach the program. If you have a question, comment, show suggestion, guest suggestion, you want to yell at us, you want to yell at me, you want to disagree, you want to ask a question, anything like that, that email address is yet another way to interact with the program, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. I don't know if anyone else joined no one else is in the, well, Cindy literally just joined the chat. We say hello to her as well. So let's get back to looking at it. Jordi, if I just say to you, 2020, the first things that pop into your head, I can probably guess the first few, but what comes to your mind? I'm assuming election, pandemic, but what else comes into your head if we look back at this? Just, if you're a Star Trek Voyager fan, there was a couple episodes called The Year from Hell. What comes into your mind?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. Maybe because I'm a little bit iconoclastic sometimes. I'm tired of saying this is unprecedented, so I'm kind of beyond that. So that's an interesting
Because if you keep
question.
using that word, then it's not unprecedented anymore, is
Exactly,
it?
exactly. Um, what's 2020 that's not the pandemic and the election? Well, that's kind of tough, to be honest. Um, if you don't mind, I mean, I think one thing that maybe is interesting to me is like stories that are within that are not covered as much. So, one thing is that I think we'll maybe have more of is what have been some of the silver linings or the kind of adaptations from the pandemic that we'll keep. As somebody who does a lot of rural organizing, everybody getting used to video conferencing, whether it's Zoom or something else, is honestly a real boon. I think there's been more of an ability to bring people together than we had before. And I have this theory in my head that our ability as a movement, it's funny you said about Facebook using the tools against our enemies. I mean, I'm on Facebook a lot, and people may think I like it. I actually kind of detest it. Maybe you're similar. Not just because of how much ownership it has, but a lot of the ways it's structured to hoover out my information and not give me control over things. But anyway, our like our ability to use these tools is as a movement is kind of a function of what's the lowest common denominator. Everybody knows how to use email now, but if you go back to 1995 or something, or maybe close to the Seattle, do you remember the Seattle protests? I think that was in '99, the big world,
against the
World Trade Organization. Yeah,
was it WTO or G20? I can't remember the big.
It was both. I think that's when they founded the WTO, if my memory serves. So it was GATT and the G20 coming to Seattle to create the World Trade Organization, because we went from the general agreement on tariffs and trades into this new regime of the World Trade Organization. So anyway, email, right, was probably used, but some people, I'm sure, were like, could you send me a letter? Right. And some organizer was like, oh man, could you just get on email? And now what I'm trying to say is because the pandemic forced so many people into Zoom, now we have this tool to use. And I can point to all kinds of things that are about people being able to come together. So that's one kind of silver lining. Another kind of long-term effect that I'm paying a lot of attention to is kind of the intersection of the two big trends of the pandemic and elections. But in these smaller places in rural PA, it really is the case that like there was less COVID here, right? So there's this problem, this political problem that's really underlying it, a social problem, which is the lived lives of people in rural PA versus urban PA are so divergent that it becomes harder to build a sense of commonality. So for example, with COVID, there were literally not that many people who had it or who died in a lot of the, lower population counties. That's changing in this minute. And I don't have any hard data, but my sense is from reading things on social media that some of the real hardcore anti-COVID stuff is fading a little bit, right? Because it really has come home. So, I'm kind of wondering if we will finally get that moment of unity that I kind of wanted, that I get from history books about World War II, or that I lived through with 9/11. I watched.
I don't want to derail you too much from that, because what you're saying.
Go ahead. Derail me.
Do you think we're very, very fortunate, and I'm very humbled. We do have a nationwide and quite literally a global audience. Do you think that same feeling that you're having, as what may be a binding agent within our Commonwealth is also, or at least that we can hope might be a binding agent within our nation, between red states, blue states, urban states, rural states? I know that we didn't see it as much as we would like. I tend to end every program asking folks to please, can we have conversations instead of arguments, and can we talk to each other instead of shout at each other? But as of the last time that I heard the stat, which I think might go back to Friday, it was 41 of 50 states that were seeing increases in cases. And that means red states and blue states. It means urban and rural states. It means heavily populated and lightly populated. Does the sentiment that you're expressing about within our own Commonwealth, do you believe that we can extend that to our entire nation? Do you hope we can extend that to our entire nation?
I think we're just at the beginning where I am. We're just at the beginning of starting to see some of that. So I don't even know if that sentiment of unity will really come into its full blossoming. And it does really need to. And you're absolutely right about how much we're not there.
Or is it the pessimist's view? Because I am generally a pessimist. That even at the end of the program, when I beg us all for some unity, I am generally, sadly, a pessimist. Is it the opposite view? That when 17 states sign on to what is by definition and by law a seditious act, are we in a cold civil war that close away from a shooting civil war?
Even that close gets a little bit, right? Like, is it I'm not as much of a historian as I wish I were sometimes. Isn't it usually the case there's some shooting and then you say it's a civil war? Right? It's a couple of days or a couple of weeks later, Fort Sumter happened, and then there was the declaration of civil war.
And it was the actual declaration,
right.
Correct? Yes, but we had the self-identified Proud Boys marching through D.C., didn't we?
I'm thinking about the secret police arresting people
in Portland, correct, and New York City, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I understand what you're saying. But are we? And it doesn't mean that it has to be one or the other. We're not a binary nation. We're not a one or zero, up or down, black or white nation. We tend to all live in the gray areas. When you have 330 million people, everyone lives in the gray areas. But do you? Is this pandemic the thing that can end this Cold War, or did this election only solidify the cold civil war that we're in?
Right. And I apologize. I get so excited because you asked such good questions. So you can see me being like, I want to get in on this. I think I probably sounded
this long to get here. I've been asking good questions since April.
I had an election to win, man.
Well, that's a whole topic.
Yeah,
we can get to the massive failure in this comment.
And I know everybody, I keep saying, I don't know if I have the math quite right, but the margin in Pennsylvania was 4 or 5 votes per precinct. So it is literally every single thing that every single person did made a difference. You cannot, the one call you made, the one postcard, all of that. But that speech aside, I'm not as optimistic about the whole situation as maybe I sounded like when you started that. I probably I'm a little bit closer.
I do tend to get on a roll with my questions. They get a little itchy at times.
But I think you united the two things that kind of fit together around this with the lawsuit and the 17 attorneys general joining the Texas lawsuit that I agree with you was seditious. And of course, I think it was the attorney general, Josh Shapiro's office. Their statement used that language, if I remember correctly, in their amicus or their filing in response to the Supreme Court. But the problem is this, right? So I want that unity to happen, and I know many Republicans, and where I live has more Republicans than Democrats, and I need them to come back to the fold, right? But their party and their party leadership is in the way. And what has surprised me, nothing about what Trump and his allies did up to the election or even after surprised me. I am a little surprised at how much the rest of the party is continuing to dig in, and I'm sure you've similar observations. But was it 103 representatives?
I have ended. It's 126, and I have ended, and I've begun to make it a habit, and I'm glad that I've made it a habit. I don't call it a party anymore. I don't believe that the Republicans are a functioning, or even by definition, a political party at this point. I believe they are a corporation. Working
I thought you were going to say a cult.
No, well, they're that too. What the cult status, I believe, goes down to the quote unquote Republican on the street. But the elected, the elected or selected office holders and the folks within the structure of what was formerly a party are now a corporation. Their sole the sole responsibility that they have taken onto themselves is to deliver as much money to the ones that own them as they can possibly do, which is what a corporation does for its stockholders or its owners. That is what they do. They have no overarching governing philosophy. They have no overarching or discernible platform. They have no leadership. They have no plan. They have no implementation other than this neo-fascist, neo-feudal pain to inflict on the 99% of us and to deliver as much money as humanly possible to, or as politically possible or policy possible, to the top 1% and the largest corporations. They are a corporation, period. They are not a political party anymore. There is one quote unquote political party on the entire face of the planet, ladies and gentlemen, and all of you listening, wherever you are listening and watching, or however you are listening and watching, whatever nation on earth you're listening on. One, folks, one that denies the science of climate change. One, the Republicans of the United States, not the conservatives in Canada, who themselves have moved radically toward the right, not the conservatives in Australia, who are in large part deeply owned by Rupert Murdoch still, not the conservatives in the UK, not even Marine Le Pen's party in France. None of them deny climate change. Only the Republicans in the United States. This is not a political party. It's a corporation. They have taken it upon themselves as their sole reason for existence to deliver as much money to the top 1% and the largest corporations in this country, in the hopes that when they leave that structure or when they leave office, that they themselves will be given part of that money or a cushy job or you name it, and or that part of that money will be recycled back to them as campaign cash to keep their asses in seats. That's it. That's the end of it. And 2020 showed that to us like no other year going back to the Nixon administration. That's my view of it.
Yeah. Can I jump in here?
Of course.
I mean, I think for sure, I think the pandemic, like, I think there are the seeds here for some changes in perspective. I mean, one is that, like from what I'm seeing, you know, we're talking about this vaccine going to everybody and lists and what the needs are, and that the way I've heard that talked about seems to me like a very socialized experience in a good way, in the sense that we're talking about who has the greatest need, and I don't hear a lot of people saying like, oh, well, you know, those people can't afford it. Right. So there's going to be this moment that we're going through where everybody recognizes that we depend on a healthcare system that's able to provide a minimum amount of healthcare, because literally the economy can't work until we protect the workforce and the consumers. You know, this false choice, and I deal with this day in and day out where I am. I don't know who your state rep is, but my state rep is this guy, David Rowe, who is among the pack leaders of the COVID denial stuff, and including, you know, I said I'm on my borough council. I'm on Facebook fighting with him, asking him to stop bad mouthing the businesses in our area that are cooperating with CDC guidelines. You know, he likes to put, well, people who report non-cooperating businesses are snitches, and he has his followers putting snitches get stitches, right? Which to me is clearly a threat of violence, right? That's the only thing that. Which
is why I reference this cold civil war. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe we'll be in a moment where those are going back to the political problem of this. We have a party where the rank and file, I mean, where I am, I feel like some progressives, I'll just say this, I hope I don't alienate people. I feel like some progressives are like, we just have to wait for all the cranky old white people to die off, right? That's kind of the political strategy. They don't quite say that. It's like, look, demographics will shift. I remember around 2000, that guy Teixeira, I think his name is, he's one of upholster, Roy Teixeira, wrote a book that was like The Coming Progressive Majority, and it was all like demographics is destiny in politics. And I'm like, but it's not, right? The Republican, whether it's a party or a corporation or whatever it is, has been remarkably resilient in the last 20 years. It should have, if you look at for example, the popular vote split, I know the Electoral College is a big factor, but it continues to find ways to continue to satisfy its donor class, which is what I think you were talking about, but still sell a political message to this ever expanding base of people who often are actually at odds with that message of corporate enrichment. Like even in my area, like weirdly this summer, a lot of the people who are the most vociferously, anti-Biden, anti-Democrat, they call me a fascist and a communist and a bully. They're also mad that Walmart was open and small businesses were closed, and so they think the system's rigged. They just don't quite, the way the system is rigged, they're not seeing it the same way I am, but they have that same sentiment, which is, Trump is a popular, he uses the language of populism to be a fascist. We barely survived because he was an incompetent fascist. Like, that is cold comfort.
Doesn't his campaign, I realize the theme of the program is that we're supposed to be looking back at 2020, and I suppose in a way we are. Doesn't his initial 2016 campaign, when he stood on a stage, I often reference this, I think I reference it every show, George can mark this off on the bingo card too, doesn't his initial 2020 campaign, and I specifically remember the particular debate when we had the full Republican field of presidential candidates, I think it was late in 2015, when Trump was in the middle of the stage and looked to both his left and right and pointed to every single candidate on the stage and said, all of these people want to raise your taxes. They want to cut taxes on rich people. They want to destroy Social Security. They want to end Medicaid and Medicare. And they want to send your jobs overseas. And I won't do any of that. I will give you health care. I will expand Social Security. He ran on a progressive message. Why have we not learned that it is the progressive message that wins? When you talk about the book, Teixeira's book, did FDR wait for a progressive majority, or did he institute progressivism? Teddy Roosevelt, who was the original progressive, did he wait for a progressive majority or institute progressivism? And progressives, I actually sometimes shy away from using the term progressives. We are Democrats. Progressivism is the roots of our party. Progressivism is the Democratic Party. We are the party of the New Deal. Jefferson himself, at the formation of the party, fought for the inheritance tax and the estate tax and a progressive income tax system to prevent, and I quote, the establishment of a permanent upper class. We put a man on the moon. We're the Great Society. We halved poverty in the 60s. We're voting rights and civil rights and Medicare and Medicaid and low-income housing. That's us. Aren't the progressives the Democratic Party? Aren't the corporate Democrats, aren't they the aberration?
Yeah. So just a small amount of pushback. I think when and how progressive is used is sometimes a little bit nebulous. For me, it's a more recent response to trying to leave behind the label of liberal and to actually position oneself to the left of the formal Democratic Party. So I know a fair number of self-identifying progressives who will rail against the Democratic Party. And that's kind of an interesting, I think it's easy sometimes for people to kind of wring their hands and say, why won't those people understand that the Democrats are their allies? And on the other side, I'm quite sympathetic to frustrations with the party structure itself. That's a whole can of worms to talk about, maybe. But there's something else you were saying about progressivism. Oh, I think, why? I think there's two basic possible answers I get here talked about. So the core question is, given that the progressive agenda is what most Americans say they want, why don't they vote for the candidates who support that? Or maybe there's three answers. One is one you just gave, because the Democratic Party divides itself between its corporate or institutionalized element, however you want to call it, what you're describing. And it's, Paul Wellstone was like, I represent the people's wing of the Democratic Party versus the corporate wing. So that's one possibility. A second is that the media ecology continues to deceive and delude people, right? So the whole right-wing propaganda Wurlitzer machine of, I don't mean Fox, I mean all of it and interconnectedness. And the third is race, right? That since, of course, Lyndon Johnson famously was like, I just gave the South to the Republicans for, he said a generation. I think he underestimated. I think it's 3 generations. So, I'm not saying it has to be one of those. Of course, I'm kind of an overly complex thinker sometimes. It's maybe a little bit all 3.
Oh, it's probably, right. Yeah, again, in a country of this many people, it's probably a bit of all of these things.
Right. But as people who care about action, it's a little bit, what do we do to tackle that? And maybe, I don't know if I was speaking in shorthand about the race piece, but basically it comes down to this, that, white people who don't see themselves as white, they don't understand, even if they're economically middle class or working class or poor, they don't see that whiteness has been a privilege to them and is an asset. They are easy prey for a right-wing populist like Trump, So I like this model. Because I think of myself as a populist, but there's right-wing and left-wing populism, and right-wing populism, and both of them share the quality of saying it's us, the people, and then there's somebody who's holding us back. And I use the same language you do, the 1% and the 99%. The difference is you and I talk about who is the antagonist here, who is the problem, and it's it's the corporate system or some piece of that. For Trump and his other people, it's an other. And the other can shift, in our lifetimes, it shifted from those Muslims to those Islams. But fundamentally, it's so deeply embedded in American culture that it's black as a category. Even if you push Muslims or Latinx folks, the same kinds of attributes come from this stuff that is so deep in our culture, And so, what if I have to pick one thing to do in 2021 to fix it? Do I try and fix the party? Do I try and start a newspaper, or do I try and get white people to understand white fragility? That's like, I don't know. If I had the answer, I would do it, but I don't know if that can.
You probably flip that 3-sided coin.
Yeah, right.
and choose among them, and they would all be equally. I know you said that you are going to.
Jeff, that is that's a great merch idea. The 3-sided coin. If you
coin. You play jacks with that. You could do.
Exactly.
A lot of things to do that. I know you said you are going to go have dinner, and I can't blame you for that. We did get a question in the chat. I do not want to let you get away without that. We love the audience. We love when they send questions. Interaction. Folks, if you're with us every week, you know how desperate I am for interaction with this program. And I don't use the word desperate lightly, especially the phone calls, you guys. You know how I love that. Ashley asks, Jordi, as a progressive activist, do you see, I'm trying to read this because you're the white letters here are a little difficult. As a progressive activist, do you see a value in rural areas seeking more moderate conservatives to replace the current COVID-denying problem children? I love that language. Or do you, like me, feel that would be a setback for any gains progressives have made here?
That's a great question.
I would humbly suggest, I know the question was to you. I do not want to put words in your mouth or lead you to an answer. I would humbly say that, again, we've just discussed it. Progressives win. Progressive messages win. Why would we water it down with lukewarm conservatives? Or am I missing the point? The question was to you. I should not be answering it on your behalf. But
hold on a sec. I'm coming. Don't worry. Oh, okay. My 7-year-old daughter is giving me some important life instructions here. One of them is a blanket I'm not allowed to use. Um, so let me be straight, because it's a good question, and Ashley is a great ally and friend.
She is. She's a great weekly listener to the program. We're thrilled that she's here with us each week.
Yeah, yeah.
Honored to have her every week.
Yeah. So I think that we need to find ways to talk about progressive ideas, but in ways that connect to people where they really are. And I also think we need to stop imagining that biography is destiny for candidates. So the typical, to me, Democratic consultant thing is like, let's find a veteran who owns a farm and is pro-life, and all of those box checking. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think that matters as much. I think that I think we do need to find a way to make progressive populism work, but without falling into the kind of left-right dichotomy. I mean, I think Fetterman, I want to study more how John Fetterman, his political ascendancy, because he seems to be an example of somebody who's done it. And he's got a huge amount of authenticity that comes from the heart, and that seems to dissolve trying to put him into those boxes. To be honest, some people ask me to run sometimes for higher office in my area, and I'm not sure that I'm the person to be the spokesperson for that kind of progressive populism, partly because, right, I've been a professor and all these things, but that doesn't mean somebody else couldn't do it. And it doesn't have to be somebody who was a veteran, but it needs to be somebody who I think you do need to find somebody who doesn't seem like they just got into this at the last minute. We get a lot of candidates running in rural areas who come into it because no one else is running, right? But they aren't necessarily the people who are deeply embedded in their community. And I think we need to stop trying to find middle ground. Like, I think you need to find, like, abortion is a great example. Somehow we have to, but I'm also like, nothing else has worked, so we might as well try it. But with abortion, I think, we just acknowledge, like, of all of the issues that are out there, I am the most sympathetic to the opposite side. I get that if you think that life begins at conception, this is a really hard pill to swallow. And we should just talk about it on those terms, right? And acknowledge that that's a hard debate. And then, but the other things, like trying to like dance around if you support gay rights or dance around the gun issue, don't dance around. I think the problem is that when people think moderate Democrats, what they mean is, milk toasty and spineless. I think authenticity will always trump, trying to perfectly craft your message. So I feel like that was kind of a jumbled answer, but I hope that helped a little bit. Like, I think we do need to lean into it, but I don't think you carbon copy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's messaging, and that's something we're doing in the hub. To be quite honest, we this year the pandemic kind of sidelined us, but we were like, we need to be able to talk about the Green New Deal and not say Green New or Deal, like it literally is words. But for every messaging piece, we could repackage every good progressive idea. But the other piece, and it's what you're doing here, is we need to build a message distribution infrastructure, because it doesn't, winning people's hearts and minds isn't just a word game question. I can, Jeff, you, me, whatever, we can spin out great frames and memes, like I've got one, like where I talk about, people are talking about school, like taxes are so high. I'm like, your local property tax isn't high. That is your home value insurance program. Because if schools decline in quality, your home will decline in quality, right? That's great messaging. It's not a tax, right? It's property value insurance. That's what your school tax is. But it doesn't matter how many times I say it, because I don't have a distribution system to get it into the ears and minds of the people I need to convince. So,
well, the one, I know that not everybody is a fan of stats, but one of my favorite ones, and it's a quick one, and it doesn't quite fit on a bumper sticker, but I use it a lot. There are roughly 26,000 fossil fuel jobs in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 93,000 green energy jobs.
And
the Commonwealth gives away a free $3.2 billion a year to the fossil fuel industry. They give away no money to green energy. When Republicans like to crow and spew about, we have to let the free market decide, government can't pick winners and losers, the free market has decided Yet government continues to try to pick a winner. And that winner lost. You lost. What could we be doing with that $3 billion?
Well, and a candidate who wants to win in these areas should also honestly talk less about that, I think, and more about the pink collar jobs, because there's a tenfold, I think it's a tenfold increase, because if there's 96,000, I think you said, and
It's over 93,000. It's 93,000 something.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's 700,000 or 800,000 healthcare worker jobs, not including like the doctors, like those very middle income.
Right.
And so there's this sort of gendered piece where, and I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I feel like our culture is still so focused on the hard hat kind of job that would raise a family, and is completely walking by what is the reality of our labor force. And so a candidate who really spoke to the needs of the mostly women working those jobs would make a lot of inroads. I'd love to pick this up later. I'm thrilled that Ashley called, and thank you for having me on. But
hey,
yeah, I do owe my family a dinner.
Absolutely. Well, look,
I'm a family values guy.
I've said 1,000 times, we got this time slot because, I got a full-time job. It's a great time slot for Hot 101. It's not Sunday evenings are not the best, not the biggest, hip hop and dance music kind of times, which is what Hot 101 is originally known for.
It does sound like that. I'm glad you acknowledged that, because you're like, we're on the Hot 101, and I was like, are we gonna get some Duran?
This is well, if I was programming it, because I grew up in the 80s, that's what it would be. But no, this is not. It's not the biggest, dance music time of night. So that's just when we do this. But if we're still on, you drop me a message if we're still here. Come back. Well, let us know. But but regardless, whether you come back or if you can or cannot, I'm thrilled that you came to see us and you were part of the program. I hope this is not the only time. Thank you, Jordi. Carmina, I believe, has a better connection. She's been awesome, trying to hang in there and slug through these internet connections. Folks, I know that we have listeners around the country and around the globe. Internet connections in this country, what is supposed to be a first world country, what is supposed to be an industrialized, developed country, which is largely not. In other countries, you may not, in the other countries around the globe that listen to this program and that receive hot101.net, you may not appreciate or conceive of having regular internet connection problems that we have in this country, and yet we do. And especially here, oddly, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it is a regular issue. But Carmina has been beyond kind and patient with her time, and has continually tried to reconnect as we've been talking to Jordi, and we believe that we have a better connection with her. And Carmina, how are we?
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Excellent.
You've been so kind and patient for trying to continue.
Listen, it's been interesting. I really, in listening to you and Jordi, what I want to do is give you another perspective. I think reflection, what I think was really, really great about this year, if I could think of a positive, is I honestly think that people are more in tune about civic engagement and our government structures and our government processes. And I think they challenged and questioned more than ever in my lifetime. And I think that's a really positive thing. We talk about how the fact that civics is not formally taught in most public schools anymore. People learn.
Let's get a little into that history very, very quickly, if I could, for folks.
Sure.
In 1980, when Reagan took power, I don't like to even talk about when the administration began anymore, because that makes it sound civilized, and it really wasn't. When the Reagan administration took power, one of his very first appointments was William Bennett as the Secretary of Education. Mr. Bennett is still alive. He is a Fox contributor and guest. You can see his grizzled carcass occasionally on Fox. He has become more ultra right wing the older he has gotten, and as he has realized that he can make money on it. Had a radio program for a while. He writes, pumps out these books the way Ambler pumps them out occasionally. And so he appointed William Bennett as Secretary of Education. And one of the very first things that Mr. Bennett did, if not the first thing, come to think of it, there are two big things that Mr. Bennett did. One of the very first things he did is he ended the requirement that civics be taught anywhere at any grade in any public school in this country. Why did he do that? He did it because if you do not understand how your government works, you can't complain about it. How do you complain about what your government is doing to you if you do not understand how government works? If you do not understand how government works, how do you vote? Will you be a regular voter? Likely not. And Republicans do better when the percentage of Americans who can vote goes down.
Correct.
The other big thing that Mr. Bennett did was to start this whole private for-profit charter school and school voucher push that we've seen in this country. His push was to begin the defunding and deconstruction of the public school system in this country. But the big thing that Carmina is referencing, and I wanted to give you folks the history of it so that we knew what we were talking about, is that he ended the requirement for the education of civics, how your government works in this country. And no one, administrations of both parties, well, of course the Republicans weren't going to restore it, but Democratic administrations failed to restore it. So that is the historical context from which Carmina is discussing. My apologies for interrupting you, Carmina, but I wanted to give that historical context.
No, I mean, and that's excellent. Thank you so much for that. And that does give us context. But on the other hand, we have no other choice. I'm usually the person that educates my girlfriends or my family or my friends about who to vote for, why. And this year, people in my circle and in their circle were more in tune to what was going on and questioning it. And I do think that the large percentage of voters are like, they just want Trump out. But look at all the things that Trump did to raise awareness of why he needed to get out. I just think that's a remarkable thing, because between the peaceful protests, and I think Jordi knows this too, Laura Putnam out of Pitt did a whole research on the Black Lives Matter protests in Pennsylvania. So by the time we got to like end of July, August, there had been over 450 protests in Pennsylvania in 230 communities, and over a third of them were in rural Pennsylvania, predominantly white rural counties. And I thought that was amazing. And that was a resurgence of civic engagement on many levels. And then as a woman of color in Pennsylvania, I think the secondary thing that happened that was phenomenal is that white people got us. White people understood and were more open to our propensity of our plights. And I just love that, because you would see different ethnicities and races at these peaceful protests because it became a human issue, right? So Black Lives Matter transcended to a people issue. And I think those are some of the things that I am reflecting on and motivated to keep pursuing, because I think on the other hand, there's still a large segment of people that are disengaged and misinformed. And I have an obligation to passionately pursue those areas where I see gaps, to mobilize and empower. And that's what I'm reflecting on, what I need to do from all that I've learned this year and what I want to do for Pennsylvania. So I'm very excited about the new year. I'm very glad that it's over. I really am. I felt like this has been like the longest year in my adult life. And when I think about my son, and I have a 27-year-old son, and he had said to me, he's like, Mom, like your whole life you've been in politics or whatever. But my son was engaged politically. He was asking questions. He was telling his friends. He was making conclusions on his own without my input. And to me, that's a measurement of hope, right? Because if you take a kid like this, that he knows his mom is like all into it, but he's really not, but he decided to do something and empower his peers, that gives me hope. So I'm trying to look on some more positives to draw from. I think this, like the pandemic and the rippling effects of it, is just awful and it's just ridiculous. And I started on Facebook talking about this is a failure of leadership. You know, so many people want to be leaders and get the spotlight, but to be a leader is a lot of work and it's a lot of responsibility. And for me, the bottom line is he's a poor leader and there was no national plan, and 300,000 plus people have died because of it. And you know what? Now you understand the seriousness and the weight of the United States presidency. So I just think when you factor all of those things in, we have something to build upon and grow from. And that's what I plan to do with the We Can't Wait Coalition, to raise awareness of what's going on in all of these other areas in rural Pennsylvania that people outside of rural don't know. And I was on the phone with the CEO of the Center for Rural Strategies. And we were talking about the fact that people don't look at Pennsylvania as a rural state because they think of Pittsburgh or Harrisburg or Philadelphia, but it's a rural state, right? We have more rural communities and more rural school districts than not. And so,
Carmina, I think on occasion, sadly, it's the northernmost Confederate state.
absolutely.
And I say that with no pride, and I say that with no pleasure. Sadly.
So let me tell you what the Black community says, right? Because I have a lot of friends down south. We say, you know what? The South, at least the racism is overt, but in the Northeast, the racism is covert. Mm-hmm. You know, it's covert. I'm from a suburban community, and you know, our local school boards are absolutely racist and prejudiced because of their political power, because of their monetary power, because of their influence. And to be a person of color in a suburban wealthy school district, you have a different set of survival skills than kids in Philly. You know what I mean? So I believe Pennsylvania definitely is that. And I'm very proud to say that even though I challenged and talked with and communed with Trump supporters throughout rural PA, I did not get shot at and I did not get lynched. And I think that's hopeful. I was able to talk to them. I needed to understand their thinking, Jeff. And I mean, it was mind-boggling. And I just know that I have to do more. So I know I was talking a lot, but those are all my thoughts.
You can talk to me. You can talk to Carmina. If you are watching us on Facebook, the phone number is on the screen. For our friends, sisters, brothers, family at hot101.net taking in the audio of the program, let me give you the phone number: 227-9189, 227-9189. Share with us your 2020. What are you looking forward to in 2021? What are your thoughts about what we've discussed so far in the program? What we've discussed with Jordi, what Carmina and I are discussing now. The phone line is open. You know, folks, how crazy I am about these calls. This is a radio talk program. I want your phone calls. I want you to interact with the program. Wherever you are watching on Facebook, the home group page is That Other Side of Information. Watch and listen to the program wherever you are. Stay there. It's awesome. You're great. We love you. You're great to be there. If you want to join the live chat, we need you to come to the home group page, That Other Side of Information. Hot101.net listeners, you stay at the website, home website page, or you can get the apps at the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store if you have an Android device, or you can download the TuneIn Radio app and just search for hot101.net. You can email the program, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. That's also the way to contact us if you want to advertise on the program. You can literally reach a global audience, and these dulcet tones can read your advertisement. You can live tweet us at That Kennedy Talk is the handle, or you can search Twitter. Just look for that other side of information. He tried to say, easy for the radio guy to say, right? And you will find us at That Kennedy Talk. Live tweet us. We want you to interact with the program. Call us. Look, all the big fancy talk guys get, and ladies actually, get lots of phone calls. We would like you to call the program. 267-227-9189. Talk to me, talk to Carmina. Possibility that Jordi may rejoin us later in the program. Listen, it's Sunday evening. It's a tough time slot, let's be honest. He's taking some time with the family. Can't argue with that. Carmina is extremely kind for being with us, at this tough time slot. And we are sharing our thoughts here on a relaxed, low-key last live Kennedy Effect for 2020, discussing our thoughts, looking back at the year from hell, the year that was 2020, and looking forward into 2021, looking a little bit into the crystal ball. What do we see coming? What do we hope will come? And our general thoughts on the state of things, both inside the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in our nation as a whole, and around our little blue ball, our third rock from the sun, our planet Earth, the only planet we have. Carmina, I find it refreshing. I find it gratifying. I find it uplifting. Of all the thoughts that any of us could have about 2020, your first thought is something positive. I wish I could be that optimistic. I usually am not. As I say, as I said to Jordi, I am all too often a pessimist. Why? What makes you optimistic? Is it the traveling you did? I mean, you and I crossed paths quite a few times this summer, during campaign season. Not enough for my pleasure, but I mean, is it the things that you saw on the campaign trail that actually, that easily could have beaten you down, that actually made you more positive or made you optimistic, or what is it that still gives you hope? It's very easy to get beaten down in the state of our nation and the state of our Commonwealth now. So what is it that gives you hope?
Honestly, because I've had a difficult year in terms of, to be honest with you, as I grew more and more people attacking me or people coming at me, and I just found a way to get strengthened by it. And I'm optimistic because I've been through a lot this year, and I've survived, and I'm still standing. And that just tells me that I have purpose. I am not an overly religious person, but I'm the granddaughter of a Baptist preacher from a small town in Pennsylvania. And I just feel like it's part of my legacy. And so I came to my own understanding that God has something for me to do. And I'm not that person that says, oh, you got to always be optimistic, but the stats of this pandemic, the impact on everyone's everyday life and how it's spread out is just so overwhelming. I would spend every other day on Facebook just like throwing the numbers out there and having that emoji with that angry face. And then I thought, you know what? How do we build from this? And it's awful. It's going to go down in history as one of the worst politically acute years in terms of with a presidency. And what else can we do? So I think it is a combination of all that I have been through this year, all that I saw, and knowing that I have purpose. I believe that I have purpose, I should say.
Let me ask you what might seem an odd question, because you did explain it, but I wonder if I could ask you to expand on it any bit.
Okay.
You
So
are a woman. You are a woman of color
yes,
from southeastern Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia, if I'm not
from
mistaken.
Philadelphia. But I grew up in
No, I
Montgomery
don't want
County. I grew
it
up in Montgomery County.
in Montgomery, so which is just north of Philadelphia.
Correct.
For those of you listening around the country or around the globe, if you're not familiar with the geography of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Right.
Montgomery is the county that is immediately north of
Correct.
the city of Philadelphia, along the Delaware River, if that helps you. I'm going to ask this in what might sound like a snarky way, but I don't think
No.
you won't take it that way.
I
What
will
is
not.
a mom, woman of color from the eighth largest city in the country, largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania? What do you care about rural PA? Why are you bothering with the reddest, arguably least educated,
That's exactly
sure
it.
as hell least informed,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm stumbling on my own tongue is betraying me here. Most misinformed, malinformed,
Yes,
sometimes willingly malinformed
absolutely.
areas of PA. You have left, and you would be working this way anyway. I have no doubt. You and I would have met anyway, and we would be working just as hard. But why leave Philadelphia? And I'm gonna go. Well, because look, I make a habit of it too, and I do it within our own party. Sadly, I go places my own party doesn't want me to go.
Okay.
Sad that there are places that my own Democratic Party does not want a Kennedy to go. They usually shoot Kennedys, but it's a shame that there are places that my own party does not want a Kennedy to go, and that won't listen to one, by the way. But why leave Philadelphia and go to the places within this Commonwealth where you are literally wanted the least?
So, it's funny that you said that, because I've always done that in my life. I did my undergrad in Boston at Northeastern University from this county, right, from Montgomery County. And people said, why would you go to Boston? I said, well, I'm going straight to South Boston first. And that was in 1989. I'm not fearful, first of all. But secondly, there's an economic issue that I discovered along my route. I think I did over $300 or more in toll charges traveling the state in a matter of.
And the Commonwealth thanks you for that.
I'm sure they do. I think about with a span of 4 months or more or less. I don't know. So here's the thing that I discovered. First of all, I think that being from the Southeast, we kind of just like the people that I know, we don't know other parts of Central PA or North Central or Northwest or what. We don't know. So I was intrigued to find that out. Then when I went to these small cities or small big towns in rural counties, and I realized this. First of all, I should say I'm a big public education advocate, and I do advocacy work in Montgomery County. I've been doing it since I was 16 years old, like public education advocacy. And what I found, and I want to use Johnstown as an example because then it kind of spilled in. So if you look at Johnstown, Wilkesboro, Williamsport, Harrisburg City, like I learned that Harrisburg City is not Harrisburg, or not necessarily all of Harrisburg or all of Dauphin County. And so here's what I learned. When you have school districts in rural PA that are 97% white, the poverty rate of their students is between 30 to 50%. When you add Black and brown to these public school systems in rural PA, the poverty rate is between 50 to 90%. Now, Johnstown City, Greater Johnstown City School District. I went to Johnstown. I spent all day at a Black barbershop, and I met all these Black and brown men in different age groups, different generations, some that have just lived there, some that have lived there their whole life. And I was captured by these the 16-year-old and then a young man that graduated 3 years ago. And what the 16-year-old kid said, yeah, I just go to school twice a week. I don't really, care. I go through the motions. And then the guy who graduated 3 years ago, he said, listen, I'm still finding myself, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I said, I graduated from Johnstown. Other guys my age are in jail right now. So I'm a mom of a Black boy. And I'm thinking, what? Like, there's kids that are in jail before they graduate from high school? What is that? So I disaggregated the data. Check this out. So 86% of the high school students in Greater Johnstown are economically disadvantaged. The school district gets Title I funding, federal funding, which is a system to ensure that academic achievement is a realistic, measurable outcome for kids, right? Economically disadvantaged. So they don't use any of their Title I funding for high schoolers, just elementary. And then I looked at the census data, and the median income in Johnstown City is $24,000. And only 12% of
which is
the
under the
adults,
poverty, which is under the federal poverty line.
absolutely. And then 12% of the adults in Johnstown City have bachelor's degrees. So I just was enraged because I said to myself, where are these kids that are economically disadvantaged going to get an opportunity to break their poverty cycle? Then I looked at the school district budget. Okay. First of all, this school is K through 12 and only has 2,300 students. 60% of their budget comes from the state. So for us on the Southeast, that's unheard of. That's unheard of. 60% of your funding is from the state. So that just happened to be Wayne Lagerhall's district. He happened to be chair of the education committee in the Senate. So then when I went to Wilkesboro, and when I went to Williamsport, and I went to Hazleton, and I heard all these stories and heard all these disparities, here's the deal, right? So in both sets of data, white people are poor in rural Pennsylvania. People in color are poor in rural Pennsylvania. And the irony is the leaders in the state and in our federal government are not ensuring viability for these people to have a thriving community, a thriving life. I stopped in Clearfield and I went into one of those convenience stores. It wasn't Sheetz. It was another name. And the clerk behind the counter was 30 years old, graduated from Clearfield High School, never voted before, not engaged, not doing anything, 30 years old. And he had no sense of belonging to our society. He was just going through the motions. So I met a plethora of people from different races and age groups across this state. And no one has cared enough about them to do something about them. And everyone following behind them.
Well, now let me ask you
a
difficult question then. Let me ask you a difficult question.
Ask me.
I agree with you. Which should, I'm sure, comes as a shock to no one, by the way. Let's just be honest.
But did I answer your question in terms of understanding why?
Absolutely. Totally. Absolutely. And I say this with no frivolousness whatsoever. God bless you for it. Because I think you are more than just an activist. You're an ambassador. And I don't use that term lightly. I think you are, I literally believe with all my heart that you are showing that your background, where you live, the color of your skin, because race is simply a societal construct. It means nothing. There is no actual difference in race. Race is a societal construct. There is a one human race. We simply have different levels of melanin in our skin. There's no difference in race. There's only one race. That said, you are an ambassador. You are proving that what is good for one is good for all. And you are proving that people that have more melanin in their skin care about the same things and care about the welfare of folks with a hell of a lot less.
Absolutely.
And that because you come from a city that you are no more important or no less important than someone who comes from a farm.
Absolutely.
So no, I get it. I do get it. And I think,
Jeff, can I interject really quickly?
Please.
So here's the deal. So the We Can't Wait Coalition is going to focus on the economic issues that impact rural PA that are indirectly impacting or influenced by suburban and urban. So when you just focus on economically disadvantaged, that takes race out of the equation. We need to help empower people that are economically disadvantaged to be more educated and more prosperous in where they can have a livelihood that thrives them intellectually and financially and mentally. Boom. So that's the threat. Now,
Okay.
I want to point out one other thing. In the beginning of COVID, I had some friends from Western PA, and they told me about Greene County, PA, which is underneath Washington. So that's the furthest southwest corner of our state. The busiest public school employee
Bottom
was
left-hand corner, if you're thinking.
correct.
Sure, of PA.
Correct. So that's
Bottom
the
left-hand corner,
southwest.
that would be the
right?
that would be the bordering Ohio, West Virginia.
Let me tell you what happened. So the busiest public school employee in the beginning of COVID were bus drivers. And there were bus drivers that were the busiest because they were hand delivering the home packets to families that did not have access to Wi-Fi or a laptop. Then you flip it, right, and go to the furthest southeast corner of Pennsylvania, and you have Philadelphia, correct?
Right.
50% of the public school kids in Philadelphia did not have access to Wi-Fi or had a laptop.
I understand.
That's sobering.
Going there. Right. You're talking about some of the most
My-
some of the most rural area to the most urban area, and yet still 50% of them didn't have the same thing.
Right. And so we quadrupled the numbers are greater for the public school system in Philadelphia, but the whole reality that here's a city that could have all of that. Comcast is right downtown, and yet there's a segment of students in 2020 that did not have the access or ability to learn virtually. That's a problem. So I care about that. And I was lucky enough to know people that could educate me and teach me about that. And that's an abomination. We should not stand for that. So I'm going to be working with students about fair funding and redistricting. I consult for a student ambassadors program in some school districts in Montgomery County, and we are going to educate and empower these kids to challenge the government in Harrisburg about their choices and their decisions.
Well,
because I need them to get it.
I would submit the easiest way to solve that individual particular problem would, if the internet was regulated like a utility, and net neutrality was restored, that would be the easiest way to solve that. But let me ask you what is going to possibly seem to be a very cold question. Where does the responsibility come from? From the individuals themselves. When we talk about folks in the rural areas being ill-informed, malinformed, sometimes willfully malinformed, where does their responsibility come in?
Wow. I usually don't have everything that, that's a tough one because I
know it is. And it seems like a question that, usually, the opposite end of us would throw at people. That's about our personal responsibility. Well, but isn't it sometimes though, isn't it? It's the family that can't afford to, I do this every week. George will know. And we could put this up probably on the bingo card as well. The family that can't afford to see the doctor, the family that whose child is those children that we're speaking about, Carmina, whose public school class has 30, 35, 40 kids in it. But yet they vote in a manner because so-and-so is going to protect my attic full of guns. That attic full of guns does absolutely nothing for you.
Absolutely.
It does not pay a utility bill. It does not pay a medical bill. It does not pay. It does not contribute toward your school taxes. It doesn't pave a road. It doesn't buy a sack of groceries. It does nothing for you. And by the way, the overwhelming preponderance of the Democratic Party in this Commonwealth doesn't give a crap about how many guns you have in the first place. So how much responsibility lies with these folks themselves for choosing to vote against their own self-interest?
So I'm one of those people that kind of graze on people that talk about, oh, it's the parents' responsibility or whatever, right? So I don't know the question about the responsibility of that person because that's hard to determine. What I do think there is a responsibility. I do.
It's not a simple. Believe me, I don't ask it as a simple question. I don't.
It's not.
I don't. It's not an easy question.
So here's where I'm going to say it is a responsibility, right? So I thought about this over the course of the summer. It is the responsibility of state leadership to represent and serve everyone in the Commonwealth once they get elected, right? So I'm talking about state leadership. So whoever's in power, whoever runs a committee, whoever's chair of a committee, I am Wayne Lager Hall's constituent because he did run the Senate committee. So I believe that we've got to get back and start pressuring our legislators to do their job, right? When I looked over the fair funding lawsuit and just saw the clogs in the wheels and the obstructions and the obstructions and the delays to moving towards real reform, that's the responsibility of those people in leadership. I think that we're at a time where things are still going to have to fall and become uncomfortable for people or either very detrimental for them to take the responsibility and the ownership of what they need to do about their government. Now,
let me build on what you're just saying there.
Okay.
Back in the beginning of the Trump regime in 2017, the Republicans moved to end, for all intent and purpose, end the ACA, strip it, break it down, end it. The Republicans had control of all three branches of government. They had the White House, they had both houses of Congress, and the Supreme Court. And they were finally going to move to end the ACA. And even with Obamacare, and even with, and by the way, to illustrate how ill-informed Republicans can be, the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, has roughly a 2/3 approval rating with Republicans. But Obamacare is only popular by about 47%. It's the same bloody thing. It's the same damn thing. That said, let's build on what Carmina is talking about here. What stopped Republicans from doing exactly that? It was public pressure. Republicans in Congress, the House and Senate, were absolutely overwhelmed with phone calls, emails, even paper letters, not just to their Washington offices, but to their local constituent offices. The congressional switchboard and email servers were shut down on more than one occasion, day after day. This is what Carmina is talking about, I think. I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth, Carmina.
No,
this is what we're talking about. Public pressure. Republican complete control of government. They could very well have ignored all of you. And very often they do ignore all of you. Very, very, very often ignore all of you. If you are in the top 10% economically, you have an 80+% chance of getting the policies you want to see put into place through Congress. If you are in the bottom 90%, well, I think it's the bottom 40% economically, you have nearly 0% chance of seeing anything that would benefit you get through Congress. But yet overwhelming public pressure stopped Republicans from ending the Affordable Care Act. This is the kind of pressure that Carmina is talking about. And if you're listening to us outside of PA, all across the country, or in any nation on earth, because we have listeners all over the globe, this is the kind of pressure that works. And it's the kind of pressure that your government is supposed to listen to. So I apologize again for interrupting you, but I need to add context into what we're talking about for the folks at home listening. But this is what you're speaking to, am I correct? The email,
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
phone calls, the letters, the showing up.
Absolutely.
You know, the
and then that goes back to my original statement that if you look at where we were the day after Trump was elected in 2016 and where we are today, we've made strides as a society. How many indivisible groups do we have? How many of the Black Matter Live movements have been started because of all the stuff that we've experienced? We are more engaged politically, societally, locally. We're questioning more. School boards. I know that I challenge school boards all the time in Pennsylvania because I get parents to advocate for themselves to say, you work for us. So I think those are all things that are positive and we can move forward with. So I know I talked a lot, Jeff, but I thank you for allowing me to be on there today. And I just am hopeful for the future. I believe I can do it.
We obviously we thank you for being here, especially the patience that you took for, hanging out in the background there while you tried to get the connection straightened out. Cause I know it turns into, I know the folks didn't hear from you, too much in the beginning because the connection was dodgy there, but you've been with us for, almost 2 3/4 hours. So, I'm grateful for that. And we tell every single guest here, this is not, we are, well, beyond our deep appreciation, we are very, very hopeful that this is not, you are part of the family now. So we're not letting you off the hook. We hope that you will, we are very hopeful that you will come back and see us again.
Absolutely.
And that you will, this will not be your only visit to the Kennedy Effect. You're part of the family. We hope you will come back and see us. And we're extremely humbled and grateful that you would give us this much time on a Sunday evening.
I'm committed. I'm committed to the cause. I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to you the last few weeks. I was just tremendously busy and always wanted to listen and learn. And I have. And I'm just grateful for this because I hope, I guess nobody's asking any questions, but I hope that people
we have a damn shy audience, I'll tell you what.
I know, right? Or maybe I just overwhelmed them. I might have
really bothers me. It
But,
really bothers me. I'll tell you what, Tom Hartman never has problems getting phone calls, and Stephanie Miller and Randy Rhodes and David Packman, all the rest of them, they never have any problems getting calls. Michelangelo Signorelli, they never have problems getting phone calls. I can't buy a phone call around here. I don't know what the problem is. I guess I'd like to say it's because I'm so thorough with my facts.
You are thorough.
No, I'm not. So
you're thorough. You give great context, and that's so important when you are engaging with people, because I try to get people to see the big picture and the small picture.
I'd like to say it's because, like I said, I'd like to say it's because I'm thorough and because I have such a massive command of my facts, but I don't think that's it.
You have a great command of your facts.
I don't know what the problem is.
Don't sell yourself short. Well, either way, I'm going to stop talking, but thank you so much. And I'm going to still stay on and listen.
Come see us again.
Things to do.
Come see us again. Enjoy dinner. Come see us again. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right. Our thanks to Carmina Taylor for being here. Now, Ricky in the chat said that he tried to call and that no one answered. That would be a big deal. So I am going to break the fourth wall, as I do a lot. I do not see a missed call here. So I am going to refresh the Google Voice program and see if that helps. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I use a free bit of software called Google Voice. And what it allows me to do, oh goodness, it wants me to do an update. George, I'm guessing I should probably not do an update in the middle of the program, but I'm wondering if that's why I'm not getting calls. Oh goodness. I love when this stuff happens right in the middle. I didn't notice that when I booted it up. Oh, good. I should be hearing you, though, when you make a phone call. So my apologies to anybody who attempted to call, unless I gave out the wrong number, which I hope I did not, because I am not seeing that you tried to call Ricky in the live chat on Facebook. My apologies. I hope you will try again. It does not appear that I typed the wrong number. The phone number for the program is 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. The phone line is open. I will attempt to keep a better eye on my software. There it is. It's not ringing. That's why I didn't see it. I'm not hearing the ring. Ricky, I'm guessing that's you. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
What is on your mind?
Well, just to kind of introduce myself, I actually am a partner with Carmina.
Okay,
on
awesome.
The We Can't Wait PA Statewide Coalition. I'm the Vice President of Operations for United NEPA Alliance.
Okay.
Up here in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
This is my first time listening to your show, so I was trying to comment as fast as I could on everything that you and Jordi and Carmina was talking about, because I mean, those same issues, those same topics, I'm in, basically a similar type environment, but yet a different demographic than Bethlehem.
Okay.
Where up here in Scranton, it is mostly white. It is a mostly integrated city. Same with Wilkes-Barre. So the dynamic is a little different, where we have a lot of groups and organizations that cropped up over the summer, but majority of the group membership has actually been Caucasian. So it was good for me to see that the other side of the aisle was willing to come out and show the support and identify that there was a need for change. That that the fact that minorities are getting the shady end of the deal around here, that needs to stop and that needs to change, and they're willing to get on board with that. So that just made me even want to even work even harder to say, you know what, you're out here for us, and I'm not going to just sit back and let you do all the work. I'm going to get dirty with you.
So this is are you largely referring to cooperation within, I want to make sure I get my wording right, so hang in there with me, in a social change movement or in the political and economic change movement?
All of it.
Excellent.
Because because we have different groups that have different focuses. And that's the lovely thing, because you have a group that's that's addressing the medical insurance disparity. We have another group that's addressing the housing disparity. We have another group that's addressing, police brutality and unfair treatment. So we have different groups that are addressing all of those issues, where if they were around prior to 2020, no one knew of it.
Let me ask you, Ricky, since you were kind enough to call me, I love callers. I love callers. They stimulate my brain and they get me to talk about things that I maybe didn't think of. When you had the opportunity to work with folks who maybe do not or did not align with you politically, what did you talk about? How did you have those conversations? How did you break down those barriers? How do you have a conversation with someone who is convinced or has been convinced after years and years of Fox News and right-wing hate media that if we just give billionaires a few $1 billion more, that they're going to be better off? How do you have that conversation?
Meet them halfway. Find out what both sides do agree on. And I can tell you now, I have constantly done this. Over and over, I've had these confrontations, these discussions, whether it been on the sidewalk or in the middle of the street during a protest or rally. I've had these conversations. When Donald Trump had came to Old Forge, and it was just something simply as both me and a Trump supporter being Christians was enough to turn our conversation from possibly being hostile to very mutual, to the point where, at the end, when everything was said and done, we were both able to look at each other and shake hands and walk away from it with a different perspective on each other.
That's an interesting example that you chose, because I have been trying for several weeks to get a member of the clergy onto this program. I am not an overly organized religious person myself. I consider myself a person of faith. I certainly have my beliefs. I'm a member of the Moravian Church. Although I am Irish, I am not a Catholic. I'm a member, although I am a big fan of this Pope. I think he has actually returned the church very much to its roots, and not the corporate church that it had become. But that's a whole different topic for a different day. But I've very much been trying to get a member of the clergy on this church or on this program to talk about how Republicans have wrapped themselves in the Bible and in religiosity, when in fact they do nothing to support any of it. So that's an interesting, there's nothing Christian about starving poor people or making more of them, or bestowing billions and billions of more dollars on people who already have billions and billions of dollars. So that's an interesting, a very, very interesting example that you would cite, that you were able to find common ground with a self-identified Republican in his or her, because I don't know who you're speaking to, in his or her religiosity, and find common ground there, because there's nothing in the Republican side of things, in the Republican cooperation, that is Christian, or of any religion for that matter, in my opinion.
I mean, you're not gonna. It's gonna be hard to find any religion within the politics of anything. But there is the religion within the people. There is a background of spirituality that, if anyone's ever had we're raised in any sort of church, there's a level of spirituality that we keep with us. So it's not about throwing scripture at each other. It's not about, slamming the Bible, or whatever version of the Bible, whether you could be Jewish, you could be whatever. But the spirituality piece is what really should be the driving force, to understand that, I'm still a peaceful person.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not out here to slander you. I am not here to bash you. I'm not here to hurt you. I am here to oppose you, but at the same time, I'm also here to listen. I'm expecting the same in response.
So let me ask you before I let you go, Ricky, and I'm very grateful, very, very grateful that you called, because I know this is your first time listening. I hope it will not be your last time listening. I hope it becomes a habit for you. I desperately encourage phone calls on this program. I want this program to be as interactive as humanly possible, between the live chat, the tweets, and especially phone calls. I want this program to be patterned, very much after the big players in the industry, the Tom Hartmans, the Randy Rhodes, Stephanie Millers, Packmans, Michelangelo Signorelli, Dino Badala, all those who regularly get phone calls and get, have people stacked up on the phones that they can't get to. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. But so I appreciate the fact that you took the time to call. I'm very, very grateful for that. But I want to ask you something before I let you go and reopen the phone line on the hopes that other people will follow your example and call. What are you hopeful for going into 2021? What are you, whether it be personally hopeful, for your community, for the Commonwealth, for the nation, for the planet? What are you hopeful for going into this new year?
For 2021, I am hopeful for progress. There's been a lot of issues that have been presented on a local and a national level. And we need to see progress. We're not going to see everything go back to where it was pre-COVID. It's not going to happen that way. This may take several years to recover from, but it's the progress. Let's see more jobs being created. Let's see that there's less incidences of police involved shootings. Let's see that there's less, that there's more people that are getting proper health care treatment. Let's see the progress of the issues that we said there was, the problems that we presented to you. And not only did we present problems to you, we also presented to you solutions. So let's see, I said the progress is, how many of these solutions do you take into account and that you actually try to apply? And we're not asking that every single one be applied to, and that we're not going to say that we know the answers and have all the fixes, but we the people like to think that we know what's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the only thing I want to see is progress, regardless of how minute that progress might be, but I am hopeful for progress.
Amen. I can't argue with that. I agree with you. I hope so as well. I hope we can come back together a little bit. I am not optimistic about it, but I hope that we can come back together a little bit and find our way back to being one nation instead of the two that we very much are at the moment, this cold civil war that I believe that we're very much in right now, to the point where I think if we separated into two countries, I'm not exactly sure where Pennsylvania would end up at this point. I have to be honest with you. But Ricky, thank you very, very much for calling the program. I hope you will not be a one-time listener. I hope you will continue to be a listener of the program. If you can't join us live, please remember that the recorded part of the program is on, the recorded version of the program is on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. I hope you will join us every week. Well, we're going to be off for 2 weeks now for the holidays, but when we return live, I hope you will make a habit of being part of the program, and I hope you call us again.
I definitely will.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're very welcome.
Have a wonderful holiday. Please be safe and healthy, you and your family.
You too.
That's Ricky. That's Ricky. See, now I heard the hang up. See, and that's something. I wonder why that happened. Huh. These software things, I gotta tell you. Oh, yeah. See, now that worked, didn't it? Yeah. These software things, there's something. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. A little crazy there. So that was great. I love when people call the program. Don't be afraid to call the program. See, I'm not going to have a go at anyone. You can call me and disagree. It's great. It's okay. It's a discussion. No problem. We can get through this. We're all human beings. Anyone, if you're on a different side of the different side of the aisle, different side of the spectrum, different political opinions, it's okay. We can get through this, folks. No problem. We are at 7:04. What a great time for me to reset the program. This is the Kennedy Effect for 20 December 2020. It is 7:05 Eastern Time in the United States, in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, part of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the United States, on this planet Earth, the only planet we have. Welcome and thank you for being part of the Kennedy Effect, the last live Kennedy Effect for the year from hell, hellscape, awful, unprecedented type year that it's been anything, unlike anything that we've ever really probably ever seen in this country. We have seen pandemics in this country. We have seen economic calamity in this country. We've even seen bad presidencies. We've never seen everything come to fruition like this all at one time. We've never seen anything like it. But the year is coming to an end. We can only hope for better things in the year to come. This is our last live program for 2020. We will not be with you next Sunday, the 27th, and we will not be with you on January 3rd. We will return live on January 10th. Please do not panic. Do not worry. We will be back with you live on January 10th. We are taking the holidays. We want you to take the holidays. Listen, it's going to be a different... Well, first off, I should finish resetting the program. Wherever you are listening or watching on Facebook, if you are listening in the background, watching intently, I am in my Man United jersey because the Red Devils had a brilliant win today. Played fantastic. A 6-2 victory home at Old Trafford against Leeds United, the War of the Roses. The first War of the Roses when was Leeds relegated? It wasn't 2004, was it? No. Gosh, I can't remember what year Leeds was relegated. It might have been 2006. It's been a long time. That's the bottom line. First War of the Roses in a long time. The intense rivalry between Manchester United and Leeds United was renewed today at Old Trafford in Manchester, and Manchester United came out on top 6-2 over Leeds. Great win for United today. They played brilliantly. They really did. Played fantastic today. So United jersey comes out to celebrate that. After a disappointing run in the Champions League, United needed a couple of big wins. They had a good scrappy win at Sheffield United and now defeated Leeds United today at Old Trafford. So hopefully, and they're up in third place in the table now in the Premier League. So good for them. So that's why we're in the Man United jersey today. Wherever you are watching on Facebook, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you are watching us in a recorded version, thank you for that. We just are thrilled that you are taking in the program, that you're part of this ever-growing family, ever-growing Kennedy Effect family. This is a passion project, but it is also we take this very, very seriously. George, April, and I, and all of us at Hot 101, all of us here at the Kennedy Effect, all of us in the progressive movement. This is a big deal for us. We care about this program. We care about each and every single one of you that takes in this program on a regular basis, occasionally here and there, wherever it might be. We care about you. We want you to be here every week. We hope you take in every single minute of the program, but we want you here. We care about you. We want to grow this program. We have plans for this program, and it's very important to us. We work hard at it, and we take it very seriously. We put on the most professional program that we possibly can for you, and we're pleased, thrilled that each and every single one of you, regardless of whether you're with us live or on a recording at YouTube or any of the 70 places that we share the program, we're just thrilled that you're here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Wherever you're watching on Facebook, great, awesome. You can stay exactly where you are, continue to listen and watch, or you can come over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, and you can chat with me if you wish. Comments, questions, yell, scream, show topic suggestions, guest suggestions, anything you wish you can do in the chat here, That Other Side of Information. You can live tweet the program. We have a whopping, I will tell you in 1 second. I will tell you just in 1 second. Oh, 14. We're up to 14. Yeah. We're up to 14 followers now. Take that, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. 14. We've added, I think, like 4 new followers just this week. So awesome. I'll take it. You can follow us. Give us a follow if you would. Please give us a follow. I'd be thrilled on Twitter. You can search for That Other Side of Information. Our Twitter handle is at That Kennedy Talk. We'd be mighty thrilled if you would just give us a follow on Twitter if you do. If you are part of the Twitter realm. It's also a way that you can communicate and interact with the program. You can live tweet us when we are on the air. You can tweet us anytime. If you live tweet me while I am on the program, I will read it. We can discuss it. You can, again, comment, questions, yell, whatever you want to do. So show suggestions, guest suggestions, anything you wish. When I am live on the air, tweet me. I will interact with it as soon as I see it. But you can tweet the program. You can tweet us anytime, 24/7. You know, Twitter never shuts down. But if you do it while we're live, I will see it and we can discuss it. At That Kennedy Talk. If you should happen to forget the handle for some reason, just search That Other Side of Information. You'll find us. You can email the program. You can email us. The email address for all things having to do with the Kennedy Effect, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. Again, same thing. I know I'm getting repetitive. Same thing. Show suggestions, guest suggestions, topic suggestions, questions, comments, anything. And also, you know, if you have a business, a product, a service, something that you want to promote on this program, and I'm not kidding, I'm not inflating or making us sound more important than we are. We literally have a global audience. Hot101.net and this program through hot101.net. And of course, Facebook is global. Anybody on the globe can watch the Kennedy Effect. We have listeners in Australia and New Zealand and in Central and South America. And the program is global. If you have something that you want to promote, do it here. We want you to do it here. Email us and let's chat about it. thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. You can watch recorded episodes of the program. The easiest place would probably be the YouTube channel. That Other Side of Information is also the name of the YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. But we are also on Instagram, That Other Side of Information as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jeff Kennedy, and you can find me on Facebook at Jeff Kennedy, although I prefer you went to That Other Side of Information. We post news stories at That Other Side of Information, and they're not always just political stories. They are science stories, wildlife stories. We post some stories from, well, they're not really stories, they're photo journals from The Guardian and the BBC, and we do astronomy stories, and sometimes just some personal interest stories, some opinion pieces, stories about the economy, the world economy, not just the national economy. Some even local stories here about good old Lower Saucon Township, and all the way up to planetary stories. So anything, news, sometimes news stories that you didn't know about or that you wouldn't hear about normally from the cable, the three big cable channels. Things that you might not normally know about, you can find at That Other Side of Information. You can interact with us there too, comment on the stories, start a discussion. We have a lot of members. That Other Side of Information is a public group, but you can also apply for membership and actually do more things inside the group itself than you would normally be able to do. So please ask to be a member of That Other Side of Information. We'd be thrilled to have you. That Other Side of Information on Facebook. And let me again give you the phone number. I think I've sorted out the ringer. I've also put the box up on the screen, so I will see you if you ring. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. One more time, folks, 267-227-9189. Area code 267-227-9189. Now, in the chat, I hope she is still there, Ashley. I'm so grateful for Ashley. She asked me if I would review a piece of information that I had given out earlier. And Ashley, if you're still there, please type something in the chat or call me, gal. You want to. And that was about the jobs here in PA, here in Pennsylvania, the fossil fuel jobs as compared to the green energy jobs. And this is very simple information, really, if you use DuckDuckGo. And I'm going to continue to push DuckDuckGo because it is a search engine as well that works as well as any of the other search engines that you may have heard of or ever used, but it does not track your search history. Google tracks your search history and sells that history. And that's why you get, ads and things in your email and so on. They sell that history. DuckDuckGo does not. If you want to continue to use Google, hey, go for it. That's cool. Whatever it works for you. I'm not here to tell you what to do, just providing a little information there, a difference between DuckDuckGo and Google. That said, she had asked me to review a piece of information, and I will do so. There are, if you just do a quick internet search, how many fossil fuel jobs are there in Pennsylvania? That total is roughly, it does not take it down to the exact number. That total is roughly 26,000. Then, if your next search is how many green energy jobs are there in Pennsylvania, that total is over 93,000. So I did this search a lot during the campaign, during this immediate past campaign for the candidates, different candidates that I had the honor to work with. So why does that matter? and this doesn't exactly fit in with the theme of tonight's program, but let me just get into this again. Let me just explain this again, and I really hope Ashley's still here. I don't see her typing in the chat, but I really hope she's still here and listening. Republicans like to tell you that government should not be picking winners and losers. What do they mean by that? They generally mean that government should not be subsidizing certain businesses or industries to make them more competitive, or to make the other industries that they are not subsidizing less competitive. Yet, because Republicans are generally wholly owned by the fossil fuel industry, they continue to pile billions of dollars into the fossil fuel industry. Well, how much money? Well, see, George was supposed to jump in there like a joke, like a Johnny Carson joke, and say, how much money? Well, inside Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth government, Harrisburg, gives the fossil fuel industry on a yearly basis about $3.2 billion with a B, billion dollars. They don't give anything to the green energy sector, to the best of my knowledge, although you are welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. And yet there are 26,000 fossil fuel jobs, 93,000 green energy jobs. The cheapest electricity you can get in the Commonwealth is solar. So it would seem to me that the free market has decided. The free market has chosen the winner. And the winner is green energy. Yet, because the fossil fuel industry buys off Republicans and sadly some Democrats with campaign cash and promises of jobs when they leave office, we hand the fossil fuel industry over $3 billion free dollars every year. Now, in a state that is 47th in education funding, what could we possibly do with an extra $3 billion? And in a state that's in the lower third, if I'm not mistaken, in infrastructure, what could we do with an extra $3 billion? And a state with the highest gas tax in the entire United States, what could we do with $3 billion? Nationally, the United States gives away over $600 billion free dollars to the fossil fuel industry. Senator Sanders will tell you that that figure is not accurate. He will tell you that it's more like $1 trillion. Globally, fossil fuel subsidies are over $5 trillion. Think we could eliminate poverty with $5 trillion? Think we could provide clean water to every nation on earth with $5 trillion? By the way, this past week, I happened to hear on the Thom Hartmann program, and it was sad because it was mentioned as if it was a minor fact, something we all knew, and if it was mentioned as something that we didn't need to really pay too much attention to, that water is now being traded as a commodity, same as gold or platinum or copper or lithium or coal or oil. Water is now being openly traded on world commodities markets. Openly traded, bought, sold, exchanged water. If corporations are going to buy, sell, and trade water, watch out. Watch out for this in 2021. It won't be long before billions of people don't have any. There are 2,400 roughly, or I should say approximately. It is about 2,400 plus or minus billionaires on Earth. We've created 3 new billionaires in the United States just since the pandemic started. And the billionaires, the 600 or so billionaires that 660, I think it is, billionaires that we have in the United States have increased their wealth by over $1 trillion just since the beginning of this pandemic. Those billionaires hold more wealth than the bottom 2/3 of people on the planet. If we are trading water like a commodity, it won't be long before that bottom 2/3 doesn't have any water. This is fundamentally different than trading gold or copper or aluminum or lithium, because none of those things are life sustaining. But water, that's life sustaining. Do you really want a billionaire in charge of something that is life sustaining? Something that a human body can go no more than 3 days without? Is that really what we've come to? 267-227-9189. 267-227-9189. And it is 7:26. We will try to take you to 8 p.m. and then that will be the end of the Kennedy Effect for this calendar year. We will be working, though, George, April, and I will be working through the holiday, not only at my relatively menial full-time job, but also on this program. We will get the Patreon levels of goodies for you all settled. We will get the bingo card all settled for you. And we will... What else were we going to do? George might be able to remind me. We were going to do something else. Ugh.
We're going to do the Patreon page.
No, I said that.
Oh, you got that one already? All right. Sorry about that.
We're going to do the Patreon. We were going to do the bingo card.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to begin sending out mass letters for guests, which is probably something most listeners don't care about. What the heck else were we going to do? I feel like there was a bunch of stuff we were going to do, and now I can't remember all of it. Which is probably why I never get it done, because I can't remember all of it. Yeah, geez, I feel like there was stuff. Gosh.
You're going to revamp your studio.
Well, that's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks.
Well, not in the next 2 weeks.
That's not happening in the next 2 weeks.
We're going to plan it, though. We're going to plan it. In the planning stages.
Right. Right. We could hire an architect with all of the zero budget that we have and work on that. Do we know any free architects?
Yeah, I'm right here. There you go. Just you and me. There you go.
Associate producer, IT guru, and now architect?
And now architect, yes.
Well, if I triple your salary,
Wow.
0 to the third power.
There you go. 0 to the third power.
0 to the third power is still 0. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. There is something I want you to look forward to, or look for and look forward to, especially folks in I want to say the more southern latitudes, but I could have that painfully wrong. It could be the more northern ones. I probably should have read up on that. I have posted this on that other side of information. We are coming very, very close. An astronomy story for you. We'll take a little break from politics and a little break from the dourness of politics. I posted a story, and I will try to find it for you as we have reached 7:30 here on the East Coast. Let me see. Enthralling radio as he tries to find the story. Posted a story earlier in the week. I want to find, it's an astronomy story. We are coming very, very close to the conjunction. There it is from The Guardian of Saturn and Jupiter in the night sky. It's going to become increasingly difficult to see, but you should have a look at it. I think that, sometimes I find when you can look up at the stars, I have talked, previously in this program about using the app Sky Guide, and just holding it up, and Sky Guide will label for you and tell you what stars you are looking at, what planets you are looking at. Sky Guide will even allow you to search for satellites, the International Space Station, constellations, and such. I find for me, myself, there are others who have told me this too, but I'm loath to speak for other folks when they're not here to speak for themselves. That when you can look up and stare at the stars, I find it very mind clearing and very mind cleansing. It tends to take up a tremendous amount of space in my head, and I'm allowed to, I kind of allow myself to clear my own brain out. And this will certainly be one of those times. I encourage you to do it because we are approaching a time where all summer, Jupiter and Saturn were very prevalent in the summer sky. They were very bright. They were very easy to see. And if you had noticed, they were moving closer and closer to each other. Well, we are very close now to a point where they are going to appear as one point, because Saturn is actually moving behind Jupiter, and from our point of view here on Earth, they will appear as one point. And it is called a conjunction. And it's really a very, very neat thing to watch. And I hope that you will be able to do so and that you will take some time to do it. Problem is, from our point of view here in the Lehigh Valley, at least in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I cannot speak for all the other latitudes, that has become lower and lower in the sky earlier and earlier in the evening. So when it gets, even though it gets dark earlier, Jupiter and Saturn are very low in the sky earlier and earlier, so you have to catch it very quick before they get down in the horizon and then you can't see them anymore. So let me just give you a couple paragraphs from this article. Astronomers are gearing up for a heavenly spectacle when Jupiter and Saturn huddle closer together in the evening sky than they have for nearly 400 years. The celestial event will play out on Monday. I assume that I posted this on Friday, December 18th, so this happened this past Monday. But if you continue to look up, they will be very, very close to each other. Just because this happened on Monday does not mean that this is not still something to see. Well, this will be, wait, I posted this on the 18th, so it happens tomorrow night. I'm getting my dates screwed up. So this happens tomorrow night. Please look at this tomorrow night. Again, you're talking about something that has not happened for 400 years. I beg you, take 2 seconds and look at it. Again, let me read again. The celestial event will play out on Monday. That's tomorrow, the 21st, when the solar system's two largest planets appear side by side in a quote unquote, great conjunction above the horizon soon after sunset. So you need to get to this soon after sunset. In the distant past, such alignments of the planets were seen as portents of things to come, from great fires and floods to the birth of Christ and the ultimate collapse of civilization. The conjunction will peak at 6:37 p.m. UK time, but the event will be visible in Britain from about 4:30 p.m. until 6 p.m. at 15 degrees above the southwest horizon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just have a look. It's a neat thing. And I think you really should have a look. I mean, anything that only happens every 400 years, you know, we are on this earth for a very short time. It will cost you nothing. If you live till you're 80, let's just say, for you to take a whopping 20 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour to look up in the sky and see this incredible celestial event that is going to not happen again for 400 years. So you're not gonna, if you don't see it tomorrow, you will certainly never see it again because you're not gonna live long enough. So have a look. I also posted a very interesting story today that I wanted to mention. I would hope folks have been paying attention to the 267-227-9189, 227-227-9189 is the phone number. The phone number is open. I'm looking at the screen. I will see you if you call. I will not miss the call, I promise. 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Posted a story today. I tend to not post as much on show days because I want you to be able to see the show announcement. President-elect Biden is mulling over his ideas for punishment to Russia for its U.S. government-wide computer hack. This is a computer hack that also affected corporations and power systems and hospital systems, and it is a nationwide computer hack. And you would expect that the president-elect would be doing exactly that. He should be. After all, it's part of his job. Or will be part of his job when he is sworn in. Here's the interesting subtext. Again, an article from The Guardian. as President-elect Joe Biden weighed options to punish Russia for its suspected hacking of U.S. government agencies and companies, one leading Republican accused Moscow of acting with impunity, and others called for retaliatory strikes. Biden's choices, once he assumes office on 20 January, range from financial sanctions to revenge cyber attacks on Russian interests, according to transition team sources. Donald Trump, meanwhile, maintains the hacking could be the work of China, despite the certainty of his own Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, that Russia was behind the attacks. Isn't it rich? If this cyber attack was not so damned serious, and Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, by the way, calling this an act of war. In fact, I believe Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois, called it an act of war. A literal act of war. If this attack was not so damn serious, the fact that Republicans are looking to President-elect Biden, a man whom up to last Monday, they didn't even recognize as the president-elect. The fact that they are looking to him to do something about it would be comical. Republicans are absolutely devoid, absent of shame, of ingenuity, of class, of character, of morals. The elected officials and the structure of this former political party, now a corporation. I don't understand how any of you that may be listening, that still consider yourselves Republican, can do so and not feel like you need a shower. It's absolutely stunning. The elected officials of this former political party, now a corporation, are looking to a man they did not even recognize as the legitimate and legal and constitutional winner of the presidential election until this past Monday. And they're looking to him to do something. What about the outgoing president? What about the one who still wears the label of your so-called political party? Why aren't you weighing on him to do something? I think I know why you're not. Because he's complicit. Because he's a Russian asset. Because he's a Russian partner. And because you all know it. but because he has shifted billions and trillions of dollars into the people that own your party, you don't care. So you'll just weigh on Biden to fix it for you. It's despicable and disgusting. And by God in heaven, if a Democrat did it, you'd be putting he or she up for impeachment. This is not a political party anymore, the Republicans. It is a corporation. The elected officials and the structure are simply stockholders and corporate officers. And those of you who are the self-identified Republican, quote unquote, man on the street voters need to wake up. Not because you're dumb, not because you're stupid. Of course you're not. But because you deserve better. Because that entire corporation doesn't care about you. They only need you to vote. And that's it. You're essentially a mixer. You're a kitchen utensil. You're a mixer. We drag you out when we need to make mashed potatoes, then we clean you up and put you away. You're a carving knife. You're an electric carving knife. We drag you out at Thanksgiving, and then we put you away till next year. This is a corporation. It is not a political party. And you need to stop supporting it. My party is not perfect. The Democratic Party is not perfect. And we've got too many damn corporate people in it still since the 90s. And they need to get the hell out of the way too. But we're the only ones trying. We are the only ones trying. And we sure as hell have a lot more of your self-interest in mind than the Republican corporation, I guarantee you. I absolutely guarantee you. Just see if there's anything else in the news that I wanted to hit you with. Before we say goodnight. Food lines. Posted an article a day ago about food lines across America. Millions of families will have no Christmas in the traditional sense. If they have a Christmas tree at all, there will be nothing under it. No presents to exchange, no carols to sing, no family to visit, no trips to take, because they will just be trying to feed themselves. Nearly every other nation on earth, especially the quote unquote Western industrialized first world G20 nations, of which by some miracle we are still a part of. I personally don't know how. I think we have become largely irrelevant as a nation, except for the fact that we still have roughly 2,500 nuclear warheads. We are not first world. We are not industrialized. We are barely developed. These other nations have paid their small businesses to stay closed, to try to halt or slow down the spread of the pandemic, and to try to keep those small businesses afloat. They have paid the workers of those small businesses directly every week or every month. They have not favored large corporations over small businesses. They have not allowed their populations to starve. They have not allowed their populations to go bankrupt with medical debt. We have. Because we have profitized everything in this country. If you follow our home group Facebook page, you will notice, and Twitter, by the way, as I tend to tweet more and more, you will notice that I repeat a certain theme, and that is that the United States is the outlier. No other nation on earth has had its citizens go broke with medical debt, bankrupt, broke, dead broke with medical debt. The US, 15 million during this pandemic. Other nations with students broke with student loan debt? Nope. US, $1.5 trillion. Other nations with unemployed workers during this pandemic? Yes, absolutely. Yes. Many. Millions. Are they struggling, fighting, begging for unemployment benefits or supplemental wages or money to help them through during this time when the government itself is ordering shutdowns? No. Are we doing any of that here? No. Starve, workers. Starve. Supplemental income? Nope, sorry. Corporate bailout? Yeah, sure, no problem. Close all the other businesses in town while the big corporate chains, nationwide chains, global chains are allowed to stay open? Yeah, no problem. The businesses that are most able to handle it are allowed to stay open? Yep. The small businesses, one location, family owned? Nope. Shut the doors. We are the outlier. There is no nation on earth that operates the way we do. We have become an oligarchy. We are a fascist nation. Our government now operates for the best interest of the richest and the largest corporations, and the rest of us can go to hell. And the Republican corporation has made it that way, and they want to keep it that way, and they want to make it even worse. And sadly, too much of my party doesn't fight it. They may not help it, and sadly, a few of them help it, They may not help it, but they don't fight hard enough to stop it either. And the percentage of my party that fights like hell to stop it is all too often fought back against. Sometimes by the people in our party. Folks, motivated self-interest is no longer self-interest when 99% of the people get behind it. Right? If all of the people in what's left of the middle class and the lower classes all look in the mirror and say, I'm going to vote in the most selfish way possible, in the most economically selfish way possible, and we all did it, even if we literally said to ourselves, I'm not going to think about another living soul but me. Believe it or not, that's actually not self-interest because there's more of us. Because there's so many of us in this situation, we actually end up doing what is the greater common good. Earlier, I talked about water being traded as a commodity, like gold or copper or aluminum. There's only so much money in circulation. If 600 plus people in this country have all of it, the rest of us have none. And whether we like it or not, unless this country is going to go back to a complete barter system, I'm a carpenter and I'll trade my services to the electrician, who trades his services to the butcher, who trades his services to the farmer. And we remove money completely, unless we're going to go back to that feudalistic system. Pre-feudalism, really. I mean, money goes back to the very first society. Unless we're going to go back that far and remove money from society entirely, then we have to redistribute it. And for all of the self-identified Republicans who say, I don't want wealth redistribution, it's already happened. But it hasn't gone down. Your money hasn't been taken from you and given to poor people. You're the goddamn poor people. It's gone up to rich people, making you poor. And that's exactly how they want it. They want you poor and desperate. And so that a job where you should be making $30 an hour or $35 an hour or even $50 an hour, you'll shut up and you'll take the one for $10 and you'll like it. And if you don't, we'll fire you, find somebody else, because 99% of you are desperate. You're poor, hungry, and desperate, and sick. That's what we've become. Unlike nearly every other nation on earth, every other civilized, developed, semi-developed nation on earth, we have become third world. I can make a valid argument that we are not even second world here anymore. We have become third world. Tom Hartman mentioned there is an epidemic of hookworm throughout the south of the United States. You generally get hookworm because of poor sanitation, poor sewer systems. That means running water, toilets. Why would this be happening? Because entire swaths of our country are so poor that those systems are not maintained, and that some of these families can't afford their own running water anymore. This is an intentional set design by the rich to impoverish the rest of us to a point where we have to make decisions. I can't afford that doctor anymore. I can't afford those groceries. I can't afford running water. I'll dig a hole outside. We'll use an outhouse. So when we say, I sure hope 2021's a lot better than 2020, my God, I don't think it could get worse. George, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You have any final thoughts before we sign off for this calendar year?
Any final thoughts? So
we are at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and I am done. I would like to eat something, and I'm going to need to get to bed because I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go to my poverty level job.
Yes. I just want everybody to be safe. I want everybody to have a happy holiday. I just, and like Carmina said, I do have hope for the future. I am an optimist, the eternal optimist. I do think that we're going to get past everything that's going on. We're all going to get well. We're all going to be happy, hopefully, but we have a lot of work to do. So we are the United States. We are called the United States, but we are sadly currently the divided states, but we have to come together and we have to help each other. That's about it. So.
Well, let me say again, I know I said this during your birthday week, but let me say again, as we finish the 2020 calendar year, I know she's not here, even though I invite her every single week. We would not be here if it was not for April.
Yes.
DJ Lex and DJ Earl, of course, helped with all the, we had to get, DJ Lex gave us the final sign off and permission to be on Hot 101.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Earl gave us the software and helped us get all set up. They have been invaluable and great partners and great friends, and welcomed us as part of the Hot101.net family. And we are thrilled, honored, humbled to be part of it. It means everything. And we hope that we've grown the Hot101.net family. We hope we've educated, and brought something different and valuable to the Hot101.net family. We hope that family feels the same way. So we thank them very, very much as we come to the end of this calendar year. But we would not be here. George and I would be friends no matter what, but we would not be doing this if it was not for April Riddick. So we must, as always, and she, hates when I do this stuff. She doesn't like to, take this kind of praise. She is far too, she doesn't like to take this kind of praise, even though she deserves all of it and more. And we would not be here doing this program at all. Not to say that the program would be in a different form or that we just wouldn't be on Hot 101 or in it. We wouldn't be here at all. This program simply would not exist, and I'd be bitching that I don't have one. If it was not for, I'd be complaining and crying that I don't have a program. And I've always wanted a talk show if it was not for April. And I simply cannot thank her enough. She means the world to me. She is truly, I've gone through large periods of time in my life with no faith. And, in recent years, I have found, a good modicum of my faith. I still find it, I find it hard some days, and I find myself looking to the heavens and just saying, why? Or give me a break sometimes, or, can't throw a guy at the lottery numbers occasionally. But we, it just would be nice. But April is definitely one of those folks that comes into your life and you think to yourself, that's heaven sent. That doesn't happen by accident. So we thank her immensely. And I have to, even though I said an awful lot during, when it was his birthday, George, I have to say the same again to you, as we come to the end of this year in our last live program. And again, we'll be back on January 10th. We're not going anywhere. This is not the end of the program. We're just taking off for the holidays, leave you to your holidays. We are taking our holidays. We want to leave you to your holidays. I can't thank you enough either. I mean, we would be friends, no matter what. We'd still be friends and talking to each other and all that fun stuff. But it's been, you brought a lot to this program, and you've helped me immensely, and you've taken a lot of responsibility for this program, done stuff that I didn't have to do, and done a lot of work. And, and I know you're going to keep doing it, which is even better, while I'm working like a dog, sadly, just to try to have a couple bucks come in the house, and I try to keep it before somebody takes the house. And that's the thing, folks, when I talk about these economic conditions, I'm not coming to you from some, pedestal, from some place of superiority. I'm right there with you. I have come from, married and upper middle class to working dirt poor. I'm there. I'm with you. January is going to be a hard month. We'll probably give up on health insurance, probably give up on some food. We'll file for bankruptcy. So I'm there with you. I don't speak of these things just because I am a wild progressive Democrat and I hate all Republicans. I'm speaking these things to you because I am living them. And you are living them. I know you are living them. You might not want to admit it. You might not think you are living it. You might think that because you threw another 100, 200, 500 bucks on the credit card that you are going to make it through, and that credit card is somehow money. It's not money. You got to pay it at some point. And we're in this together. I know what you're going through because I'm going through it too. And that is why I am so passionate about it. It's why it breaks my heart so much. It's why it breaks me so much. It's why it makes me so damn angry. And it's why I can't stand to see so many of you out there continuing to vote so desperately against your own self-interest. I hate to see this country turn into the country it's turned into. We're better than this. We're way, way, way better than this. We can still have lots and lots and lots of rich people who are very well rewarded for their ingenuity and their hard work and their designs and their creative ideas and their entrepreneurship, but yet the rest of us can still be okay. We don't all have to be driven into serfdom, into feudalism, into serfs, into, you know, the few bits of royalty and the rest of us, you know, eating straw. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So keep listening. George, thank you immensely. Simply don't have enough.
Thank you.
I don't have enough thanks for you, and to Lynn as well, because I know I take a lot of your time, and I know she's not always happy about it. I know most times she doesn't bust you, but I know sometimes she's not always happy. So I thank her as well.
Oh, she busts me constantly.
Well, you know, she busts you about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I know this is one of them. I do know that this is one of them, but hopefully it's not too bad. But anyway, so we will return on January 10th with a brand new live program. You can find recorded programs on our YouTube channel. I think is probably the easiest way to do it. Oh, the Facebook page, George. We wanted to reorient the Facebook page. I remembered what the other thing was. You can the easiest place to find recorded versions of the program is really the YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search That Other Side of Information, and you will find our entire library of past episodes. And you know what's interesting too, kind of at the YouTube channel, is you can see how the program has developed and evolved and actually really gotten better. And I'm very proud of that. I know George is proud of that. George has been a great partner, and he's been a great reason why it's gotten better. And April, of course, as well. And you see all of our past guests and see how easy and how much it doesn't hurt or make you bleed or anything to call the program. You'll get to see how that doesn't hurt a bit. And that's, I think that pretty much wraps us up for 2020. We wish all of you a wonderful, peaceful, happy, safe holiday season. Happy Kwanzaa, a happy Hanukkah, which I think is over actually, a happy Christmas, and a happy New Year. The authorities, all of the health authorities of this country and every state, have encouraged you all to please not gather. I know how hard that is. If you look at the numbers for COVID cases following Thanksgiving, you will know why they are asking us not to do that. You can put 100 people in a room and none of them have COVID. And when everyone leaves, 2 weeks later, 25 of them will have it. And science can't exactly tell us how still that works. But the one sure thing is a group of people in a room, somebody's going to get it and spread it. Yes, the vaccines, plural, are out there. But it will take months into the late spring, early summer at best before enough of us get 2 doses to make the amount of difference needed to really break the back of this virus. So I am asking you, as hard as it will be, as much as we want to spend time with our loved ones and our close and dear families, I'm asking you to stay home, or if you do visit family, keep those gatherings down to as few people as you possibly can. Be smart. Be safe. Wash hands. Wear a mask. Dress warm. Keep distance. I'm not a fan of 6 feet either, 10 or 12 feet. Just please be smart. We want every listener of this program to stay alive. We don't have a program if you're not there. Stay alive. So again, have conversations with your family this holiday. No arguments. Have conversations. Check on your neighbors. At a distance with a mask. Check on your neighbors. If it snows, if you're in the northern states or the northern countries, because I know we have listeners around the globe, if someone needs assistance, check on them. Let's rebuild the human family. Let's rebuild this country. Let's bring ourselves back together. I wish you all the happiest of holiday seasons, the absolute happiest and most peaceful of holiday seasons I possibly can. Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, a happy Christmas, a happy New Year. For George, for Franz, for April Riddick, and finally for myself, for every guest that has been kind and gracious enough to lend us their time from the beginning of this program all through 2020. I thank you so very, very much for being here and for being part of our program. Don't forget about us. I know we're going to be gone for 2 weeks, but we will return live on January 10th after this holiday break. So be safe. We will see you in 2 weeks. Happy Christmas. Happy New Year. Be well. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Stay safe.